talk about it.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. So I guess this is starting out for both of our streams, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would you like to go ahead and introduce it on your side, or however you'd like to intro?
Yeah, sure. So welcome back to the stream, everyone. This is our first one since like a month and a half now. We're doing a discussion stream today. We're going to be discussing the idea of cancel culture and free speech and comedy and all that.
Yeah. Agreed. And I just want to go ahead and start by saying thank you for being willing to talk to me. I know I'm definitely a smaller streamer, or whatever, creator, whatever this is. And yeah, so I think it's really awesome that not only were you willing to talk to me, but we obviously don't see eye to eye on this. So it's really awesome that you're willing to talk. I think that's really cool. I think that's kind of a rare thing these days.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And then I wanted to give you a couple compliments. I know you've kind of seen me in your comment section before, and then I guess this started because you came to my comment section. But I thought those videos that you did on the Southland Tales was just awesome. They were
thanks,
way up my alley, and it really kind of got my interest back into that. It's a weird flick that, like, I don't know, who starts a movie on part 4, and then you've got to read 3 parts in comic books to actually, like, kind of understand what's going on.
Right.
It's just weird as hell. So that was awesome that you happened to cover that in a bunch of videos. That was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, man. It's been a while since I've like just gave myself over to something like that, and it was a blast. Looking forward to doing it again on the next one.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I thought that new series that you just did, Respect the Craft, I think is what you're calling it.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. That's a really cool idea, taking a look at songs that aren't well respected and kind of dissecting them. That's really awesome, man. I think that's a really cool concept. I'm looking forward to your next one.
Desk grips, be ready for it.
Oh, that's awesome, actually.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. So yeah, I guess we're kind of talking today because you had commented on my talk with Bob.
Right.
It was kind of I don't know. You had a few comments in there. I think we kind of went back and forth.
No, for me, like this is it's a slightly frustrating conversation in my opinion, for it to even be had, right? Because fundamentally, nobody can take your free speech away except the government. Period.
Yeah.
Nobody else
for
can
sure.
do it, right? So therefore, cancel culture to me is just like made up, intellectualized rich people bitching, right? Because ultimately it comes from media figures, it comes from comedians, right? It comes from artists who essentially make it their job to be public figures, right? They are choosing to make their private lives part of their part of their professional lives, because a lot of it, whether you like, whether anybody wants to agree with it or not, we do judge our artists on their actions and stuff like that. And I mean, it goes both ways, right? A lot of your favorite bands, I bet you know a lot about their personal lives. I bet you know a lot about like how that informed the songs and things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. That's because inherently we do attach our personal feelings a lot to the artists that we respect. So when an artist chooses to speak totally out of pocket, they are risking losing the audience. They are choosing to do that. And if the audience chooses to not follow them, I don't understand how that is in any way cancel culture. It seems like a transaction to me. I am no longer going to be the kind of person you're going to like. Hey, what's up, Dub and G? And I don't think there's anything wrong with the audience turning around and saying, okay, you can be that. Nobody, I cannot take your free speech away, so you can go do that wherever you want. I'm just not going to support you.
And I think you definitely can do that. I think anyone, has the right to vote with their dollars for sure. And I think, comedy is kind of I guess it's kind of like a tightrope act. You are walking that line of what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. It's it's kind of a hard thing to say like what exactly is acceptable and what isn't. The line does seem to be moving. It seems to be moving all the time. Right. And the audience seems to be the judge of it. And that's why I think comedy is a slightly different art. I understand what you're saying, that like, it's not the government coming in and trying to censor these people, which is awesome. I mean, I think we're all for that. Like that
Right.
would be very totalitarian. That would be, getting into like
Exactly.
Germany, like World War II.
Mhm.
That wouldn't be a good thing. We definitely don't want that. But comedy seems a little bit different. You have that barometer, and it is supposed to be that room. It is what the audience is going to say. And if they laugh at
Mhm.
that joke, it was successful. And if they don't, it wasn't successful. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to then try and make sure that they can never perform again or,
But what does that mean to you, though? What does it mean? Because I mean, yes, there's been social media campaigns and all that, and I'm not going to deny that. But more often than not, it just seems like they just pissed off too many people to continue being as successful as they used to be. And that just seems organic to me. It just seems like these
I don't
dudes
know about
are
that.
gotten. I mean, you have to understand too, man. Like the audience is changing, right?
For sure.
You and I, we grew up in the '90s. In the '90s, being like kind of coming at comedy from this like edgy sort of perspective and stuff like that had a place. I love that shit. I'm not going to sit here and say that I still don't enjoy that, because I do, right? But at the same time, I understand why that's not like cool. And sure, like I could enjoy it and I could have my complicated feelings about it. I wouldn't want them to continue doing this content, and frankly, like a lot of these comedians feel the same way. I mean, if you look at just South Park, right? Like
Yeah.
they're still edgy, they're still offensive, they still
Well,
do a lot, but they're
I
just not.
really like their philosophy on it, though.
Hmm.
They've made a couple different episodes on it, but either everything's okay or nothing's okay.
Sure,
It's
but then the question becomes. I mean, my question for you is, like, what does the comedian? What are they owed? What are they owed for putting themselves out there and trying these offensive jokes, these controversial jokes and stuff like that? Because I think they are definitely owed the opportunity to try that humor out, and they are definitely owed the respect to see how that might fit in an artistic context. But I think that's where it ends. If someone comes to the conclusion that, like, okay, I've given you the respect to do that, I still think you're not funny, and I still think you're just offensive for the sake of being offensive. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to support you. I don't see how that's inorganic.
no, I'm not arguing that anyone couldn't do that. Like,
Mhm.
that's your free speech. The comedian has the free speech as well. They have
Right.
the right to say that.
Mhm.
But that contract that you have by going into that club is, I'm going to give you the opportunity to try to make me laugh. And part of that is you might fail.
Yes.
So I don't believe that, you would then have the right to, do a heckler's veto or, start
Sure.
shouting down the comedian.
Mhm.
That seems completely out of place. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
there are some clubs that do allow heckling, but for the most part, you do it at your own risk and you're probably going to get kicked out because it's just not what's expected at that show.
Right.
And then some of the cancellations that have happened, somebody has either recorded a piece of a set from a show or they've reported it back. Like there was no actual recording of like the Tracy Morgan thing. Just some journalists said, this is exactly what he said. It's a little tough.
Right.
Are they really like a stenographer or, could they have possibly misinterpreted it? Does it have the same delivery? It's just not the same thing to then take it outside of that club and try and get them canceled or prevented from being able to go back to the club. I don't
Yeah.
think you have the right to say, like, my sensibility is the only thing that matters here.
Right. Yeah. And especially if you're going to comedy, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was listening to your debate with Bob, and you were talking about these battles, these rap battles, all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I love the roast battles, man.
right. Yeah. And in places like that, you could be a white guy and call a black dude an N-word, right?
Yeah,
There is
I
more
guess I have
allowance
seen
than
that.
that.
Oh,
Sure,
for sure. You
exactly.
know what you're getting into. There's
Right,
no
right.
holds barred. This is going to be
In
offensive.
that context,
No pity. Yeah.
right? In that context, when those things are decided to be put aside, if anybody goes into that situation, like, yes, especially, and that in and of itself is fine, right? Because everybody's in agreement there. But like, I think the overall thing here is that sorry man, I kind of fucking lost my point here. Let me just reset here. I think the overall point, right, is that the main job of comedy is to be funny. I mean, you can be
Yeah.
funny in many ways, including ways that are incredibly philosophical and deep, right? We've seen that with Hicks, we've seen that with Carlin. And you can also be Gallagher and smash a fucking watermelon on screen. And that's all
So
comedy.
I did kind of want to talk to you about that because your comment from before, it's hilarious to me how people who consider philosophy gay treat comedy as a bastion for ideological discussion when fucking ventriloquists and watermelon smashing are valid expressions of comedy.
Right. Yeah. And
that was one of the comments that you left on the thing. I don't know. That seems so reductive to like take everything that Gallagher did. So I'm not the biggest fan of him, but like, sure. I don't know. Did you watch any of his specials or anything?
Yeah,
I know he was kind of the generation before us.
No. Yeah, I used to watch his. I usually watch his stuff back in the day for sure. Yeah.
I mean, he did have the Sledge-O-Matic and like that giant couch and stuff. Like he had some weird stuff. There was definitely some prop action going on there, but you know, like he had some deeper things. Like there was some really cool stuff that he did about like the meaning of words, and sure. I don't know. That bit like always got to me. And then I guess he got really political at the end. I don't know, just you know, to just like reduce that down to like this is the worst kind of comedy. I
wasn't trying to like say that there's some sort of like scale of what is quality. What I'm trying to say, right? What I'm trying to say is that the types of comedians that sort of take this attitude and take this stance, right, are the types of people who think they're Carlin, you know, even though they're making pee-pee poo-poo jokes, right? Like, you know, they think that because they are a comedian and because they have an opinion that they are on that level of Carlin. And I think it's actually really reductive that we treat every comedian who has something to say that is mildly interesting about society or comedian or society or politics or anything like that, like as if, you know, they're trying to like as if they're on that same level when there's so much more to what made those comics so great, you know. I think more often than not, like everybody wants to be Carlin. A lot of these comedians want to be as important as Carlin, right? So they want to intellectualize this shit when ultimately primarily comedy is just meant to be funny. And if it's intelligent and if it's insightful, that's even better. That's great. But a lot of these guys like want to like sit down and like, you know, be like, oh yeah, so I can't sell as many tickets as I could last year. That's fucking cancel culture because I'm an important comedian who is doing this great important artwork. And look, I'm not belittling the art of comedy at all. Like it is an art. It is an important piece of art. You know, it is important art form. But you know, so is like music. And I'm pretty sure that like pee-pee poo-poo pants, like MC Chris over here, doesn't consider himself Radiohead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if I quite agree. Like, what comedian is not selling as much and saying that that's cancel culture?
All of them.
Like
Jim Breuer. Let's start there. Jim Breuer.
Jim Breuer. I honestly don't remember much except for like Goat Boy.
Right, yeah, but he was big in the 90s. He was big in the 90s, right? He was.
Yeah, I remember he had like an AC/DC thing, like I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or something. Well, like that.
I remember even in the 2000s, his comedy Metallica, like that was something me and my friends said because he was into the 2000s. He was doing pretty well.
For sure. I guess I just haven't been hearing him claiming that like cancel culture is why he's not selling.
That's the thing. A lot of people
know that he just did a special, and I'm pretty sure he's selling out like pretty hardcore with most of the clubs.
Yeah, but the clubs are like 500 seaters, dude.
Like, he was just on Joe Rogan like I don't know, a week and a half ago. I'm pretty sure he just sold out at the mothership. Like
that's great.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Fantastic.
I haven't ever heard him say that you know, he's not selling because of cancel culture.
Well, I mean, does he have to say it? He's like, look at the venues he's playing compared to the venues he used to play. You know, like they're significantly smaller.
I think like the top venue that anyone can play right now is kind of the mothership. Like,
and
you understand that they're like $700 tickets. Like even if it is like kind of a small club, like he's making bank off of that. Like Joe Rogan has huge business out there in Austin.
Yeah, hey, that's great. I am not knocking Jim Brewer's success, but that comedy was recorded a year or two ago. All right, and let's be honest here. He also just got signed on to Crowder's. I think he's with Crowder now and shit like that. So he's already in that sort of Rogan pipeline. Yeah, I think he's replacing that Landau guy. But yeah, he is sort of part of that thing. So it makes sense. And you know, as a Joe Rogan fan, I'm sure that you've heard the whole Rogan bump that as soon as you go on Rogan, it gets you huge. It blows you up huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, it definitely has a bump. He is like the highest podcast out there, definitely the highest one on Spotify. I'm
Right.
pretty sure still the most listened to. But yeah,
Mhm.
it definitely gives a bump. Like every comedian that's been on there, that so I don't listen to every episode or anything like that. But if I see a guest that I want to listen to, I do listen to it. But every comedian that I've heard been on there, they talk about that huge bump. I know. I like hearing Dave Smith. Every time he's on there, he says there's a huge, Rogan bump. So
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not hearing any of those guys particularly claim that.
Which is interesting, right? Are those newer comics?
No, like,
Oh, they're not. Okay.
no, I don't think Rogan really has new guys on that often.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, man. But like for me, I find that sort of cancel culture, complaining bullshit that's coming exclusively from dudes in the 90s, like maybe dudes in the early 2000s who were a big deal and all that shit. And these are guys who often like probably took a huge long break from comedy and are coming back and seeing, I don't know how they didn't see this coming, but yeah, the attitudes of society and the audience has changed, and they have a hard time dealing with that. They have a hard time understanding, hey, making fun of the mentally disabled is not cool no more, And I think, these are people who are rich.
Who is this fictional comedian that you're talking about, though? Like this,
dude,
who's this '90s guy who's still calling people retards?
I'm talking
I don't,
bro. I'm talking like all of them. I'm talking pretty much every single 90s comedian. Because notice the sort of 90s comedian.
So Dave Attell is doing that right
I
now?
haven't heard David Tell the thing. Well, David Tell's a totally different thing, right? Because he's always been part of that sort of offensive style.
He's a '90s comedian.
Yes, and he's always played specifically to that audience and shit, right? It's sort of like a cult following with him. There aren't a whole lot of new David Tell fans. Let's be real here,
The way that I've heard like cancel culture talked about would be like, Kathy Griffin. Like she held up that Trump head. She got canceled. She couldn't get booked. Every like part of that tour was canceled. I think she said it was like 2 years before she could actually, get a job again.
So in other words,
I don't know that that's her saying like the crowd is just wrong. Like she noted that she did something offensive.
Yeah, she's not entitled.
Yeah.
The other ones are.
Well, so that's a comedian that I know that like suffered some sort of loss from being canceled due to her actions. I don't know who these other comedians that you're talking about, all of them. Like,
dude, like I mean,
don't know.
all of them. Like it's been a while. I mean, I'll be real with you, dude. It's been a while since I've been like heavy into the stand-up comedy scene. These days, I'm more into the sort of Vic Berger, Tim and Eric Andre style of comedy. But a part of that for me is because I've heard so many of the people that I thought were hilarious. Growing up, Dave Chappelle. There you go. Dave Chappelle is a great one. He's not canceled or anything, but there's another fucking out of touch dude who just doesn't understand that like his style of humor is just not going to play these days.
So I couldn't disagree with you more.
Well, let me just
go ahead.
Let me just put it like this, man. A lot of the reasons why I stopped giving a fuck about stand-up comedy was because I was sick and tired of hearing all these dudes who I used to respect bitching and crying about like cancel culture, dude. When they say shit that, I'm sorry, dude, it's just not gonna fly. Look, like if a comedian from the 60s or from the 40s, right? Like whatever, who was back then, it was cool to call black people the N-word with a hard R, came to the 90s scene and did the exact same shtick, like I think we would all be like, yeah, bro, what do you fucking expect? But I think because a lot of us sort of have an emotional attachment to those comedians, we sort of look past that common sense because we have that emotional attachment, and so therefore we think they should be respected so that other people can understand how they're great. When at the end of the day, the society has just moved past them. They're just not.
I just couldn't disagree with you more. So specifically talking about Chappelle, like in order in honor of this debate or in preparation of it, I went and watched his 2 last specials. I hadn't seen The Closer in like a year, since whenever it premiered. Man, it is better than I remember. Chappelle is just amazing. He is the GOAT. I don't know anyone that's saying that he's beyond or he's over his prime. Like, he is amazing. And I forgot how many like great jokes were actually in that last special.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but like amazing, a lot of people that I've heard have definitely said that like, I mean, you can go on Double Toasted. It's something that they touch upon all the time. I mean, but I mean, it's great that you find that he's awesome, but like for me, you know, I loved the Chappelle show growing up and shit, right? But even before all this cancel shit happened, I'll be real with you, man. Like I thought his stand-up wasn't that great. And that's not like because of any particular issue. Like,
well, that's the thing though. Comedy's subjective. It would be like saying this color is the best color. Like, it's very subjective. It's very personal.
Right, but
there is no one comedy that's great for everybody. Exactly. Like, it really is a matter of taste.
And I'm not arguing against that.
Well, I mean, you are saying that he's past his prime, that he is just some rich guy that's out of touch. And
that's
I gotta say,
I'm not speaking for anybody but myself here, man.
Okay. You know? Well, I'm just speaking for like everybody who rated it, that actual like comedy special. Yeah. The fans.
Do you see me trying?
I don't have it up right now, but I know at one point it was 99 with the fans and like.
Okay, all right. I just want to take a break here. I just want to take a break here. I just want to make sure we both understand that we are representing our personal opinions here. And unless stated otherwise,
that's what comedy is.
All right,
for sure.
All right, I just want to make sure we establish that, because look, man, I'm not just saying. And again, I'm saying this because a lot of other podcasts that I listen to, a lot of other people that I listen to, my friends, my family have said the same thing. I mean, everyone, a lot of people still like the stuff that he came back with. Whatever, that's fine. But for me, like, it just kind of got a little too lackadaisical, and I started to see right away. For me, like how I read, it's like, okay, he's rich. Kind of like he's just kind of hanging out, doesn't really seem to be as hungry as he used to be, and that's fine and that's cool. But like for me, that sort of thing just kind of made me lose interest in this comedy overall. So I haven't really seen it. But the thing is with Chappelle is that, like,
how are you coming with the opinion that he's out of touch and past his prime? If you
because of the whole trans issue, man, because of the whole.
And what do you think that issue is? So I totally remembered it incorrectly, and I just went back and watched that.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much of that special do you think is about trans?
From what I heard, it's like 20 minutes.
It's less than that. Okay. I think when I clocked it out, it was like 12 minutes, and this is like an hour and 10 minutes. It has some memorable bits in it, man. Like, it is a masterpiece. And even the parts where they're saying, like, this is the transphobic parts, it's not really transphobic. He's talking about his friend that he...
And you believe him?
Yes. He literally, it is dedicated to her. He tells the story of her. He tells how he believes that she has an authentic experience.
You do know that comedians lie, right? Like, they make up stories all the time.
They can, and that's the next part that I wanted to get into with jokes. Like, but I don't know. Your criticism of this thing that you haven't seen is that it's very transphobic.
It's not. I'm not saying the show is transphobic. You're right. I haven't seen it. I'm telling you why.
Well, you're saying he's out of touch. Like, you were talking about a bunch of these comedians that got canceled. Let me
tell you why I think he's out of touch, buddy. Because you keep trying to bring up 3 conversations at once. Let's take it one bit at a time. Let me tell you why I think Dave Chappelle's out of touch, man. Like, he is another edgy 90s comedian who just hasn't figured out that, dude, we're just not there. And I think he really overcalculated the tolerance for his takes on trans people. And if you want evidence of that, like, dude, I mean,
how is he out of touch and how is he edgy?
Because
I'm gonna need those 2 things defined.
Because he made fun of trans people, dude. And if that's not good enough for you, yes, in 2023,
and that means out of touch as well. So the fact that he had a joke,
because as you can tell, there is an increasing acceptance of trans people, and they are seen as less and less weird and strange and shit like that, bro. So, like, when other people, when on a modern context, we hear Dave Chappelle with his 90s ass sensibilities on fucking trans people, like, just like, this is fucking weird. Hold on,
you're talking about something that you haven't heard, and you're saying his sensibility about trans people.
I'm not done talking. What did he do after that? What did he do after that? He went to a bunch of high schoolers and yelled at them, bro. He's yelling at the kids. He's doing the fucking Principal Skinners.
You're wrong.
It's not me that's wrong. It's the kids that are out of touch.
No, you're wrong. That incident, he talks about that in the special. It happened prior to this.
Fine. You're taking his word on it. I'm taking the reporting on it, right? So ultimately, what it came down to...
But you were inaccurately talking about it. You said, what did he do from there? He went and did this with these kids. That's inaccurate.
He essentially told them, hey, you're like, let's talk about these things. And all he could ever come up to say is, look, I'm older. Look, dude, ultimately the trans issue is just one of those things that like people, a lot of older sort of people are just completely fucking off base on, because to them they still think that it's a conversation to be had. Meanwhile,
so why isn't it a conversation to be had?
Because
why is that off limits?
Who cares? Because who fucking
why
cares?
is any subject off limits?
It's not.
I
off
don't
limits.
understand.
So
you're saying that it's because of his sensibilities?
Did anything happen to Dave Chappelle for making his trans jokes?
Yes, he got attacked on stage. His friend was forced into Robloxing herself, self forever sleeping, because of the harassment that he got from that community for his prior jokes.
You believe that? You really believe
I do
that,
believe
bro?
that.
You don't think you don't think he made that up for the comedy bit, bro?
No.
Seriously,
Daphne Dorman. Daphne Dorman killed herself, and she did that probably due to. I'm guessing a lot of mental issues that she had prior to this incident, but there was a huge dog pile that happened 6 days before she jumped off a building.
Okay.
So it does seem to be a factor. I'm not saying this is the only thing that caused that.
The dog pile was on her, or was it on Dave Chappelle?
Yes, it was on her for defending Dave Chappelle. You don't know anything about this situation?
I don't know anything about the situation now.
Yeah, she tried to defend him. She said, punching down requires someone to consider yourself superior to another group. He doesn't consider himself better than me in any way. He isn't punching up or punching down. He's punching lines. That's his job, and he's a master of his craft. That's her response, and then Twitter went apeshit and just wouldn't stop going after her, saying that she was a sellout, saying that she was not, respecting her people.
Right.
It's really bad.
I mean,
to say that wasn't a factor in her,
So you think
forever sleeping.
So let's just be real here. I'm glad that you and I both can acknowledge that there is this issue, and that it is wrong that trans people are pushed to that point, right? And look, it's whatever, dude. Like nobody, nobody's
got to address this comment really quick. That is not the funny part. No, that's when he got serious and dedicated his entire special to her and her memory.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, man. Regardless, to say that she committed suicide, like you said, we don't really know the whole story, right? I'm not going to say
we do. We know that she jumped off a building.
Right, but
we know that 6 days before she was dogpiled on Twitter for defending Dave Chappelle.
And I'm not going to say that didn't fucking make things worse, because I'm sure.
No, but you're acting as if these facts aren't known. We don't know the percentage that it caused in this, but we do know that it was a factor.
Sure, yeah, but here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. If that was all that ever happened in her life, that she got pushed back, right, for the whole Dave Chappelle thing, she might still be here, dude. She might still be here. But the thing is, a lot of trans people, because of people like you thinking that it's their business to discuss their gender,
I think that no subject should be off limits. I don't think anyone is above being mocked at. If you think that you are above somebody and you can't punch down, that means you don't think of them as an equal. I think of everyone as an equal. I think nothing is off limits. I think that is the job of a comedian, to explore a subject, to explore that line of what is acceptable. And every once in a while, you've got to cross that line to know where it is.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't think he's doing anything that edgy. I know a lot of edgier comedians. He is not a dark comedian. He's not edgy. You said that you haven't seen this. I'm telling you, he's not out of touch. There's a reason why the audience score on this is huge. There's a reason why he is known as the GOAT. I don't know. It's just a bad example, man. But he's one that got canceled.
He's not one of the greatest, bro.
He literally was attacked on stage also because of this. Another trans activist tried to tackle him and got really messed up.
That is fucked up.
It is. That is what he is. So not only did they try to cancel him, try to get Netflix to drop him and drop every one of his specials that they've already paid for, but he was literally attacked. I don't know, man. That cool. Seems completely off limits. None of that is speech.
That
if you're going to just tweet back at him like, you suck, this is not right, that's fine. But it's become more than that. People are trying to get vengeance for it. It's a mob coming after him. I'm sorry, man. This is, it's a mob. Do you think mob rule is correct?
Bro, how many people do you consider a mob?
Have you seen any of those protests in front of Netflix?
Wait, are you saying
so Vito? Are you familiar with Vito? I know the fandom initiative is kind of talking to Vito, or at least Dane was. But I'm
not in the initiative, bro. That's between them at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Look, man.
Sorry.
Listen.
Anyway, that Vito guy, he came to the actual protest at Netflix, and he had a a sign that said "Jokes are funny." He was literally mob attacked, and they you need to watch the videos, man.
What do you mean?
It
mob
is a mob.
Did he physically hurt him?
I mean, there was about 20 people that surrounded him, ripped the sign out of his hand, and then started yelling he has a weapon. So they ripped the sign off of the board that he had holding it, and then yelled that he has a weapon, and then people tried to forcefully take it out. They hit his head on a rock.
Did he have a weapon?
It was a mob. Yeah. You really need to look into it, man. There was a mob at the Netflix protest for Dave Chappelle. That's what I'm talking about. Mob rule is
wait.
Not
it's
okay.
a mob. It's not protesters, right? It's not protesters.
They became unruly.
Okay.
So is it protesting when you attack somebody who has a differing opinion than you, who has a sign that just says "Jokes are funny"?
No. But at the same time.
So then what would you call that? I would call that a mob. What would you call it?
I would say it's protesters.
What would you call it? So protesters are just people attacking somebody with a sign.
Dude, okay. They ripped his sign away and they tried to take his knife away. All right? I'm not saying that's cool, but is that...
I mean, they hit his head on a rock. That doesn't seem like they weren't... he was knocked down into it. Yeah. If I remember right, he had vertigo or something after. I can't remember. It was a year ago. But he did get some pretty serious injuries from it.
Well, hey, man, look, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but you seem someone who is way more into this. And if it's that Vito guy who put out his own video on it, I don't know, bro. I have to see it myself to comment on it, right? Yeah, that does, yeah.
I couldn't agree more, Bob. And I would like to address your comments, but I'll wait till after this discussion. Sorry, Bob's saying some stuff in the comments.
Oh, I see him.
All right, whatever. We've called it out now. So, yeah, Bob was claiming that I was just doing a gotcha moment last time, and I think that's so disingenuous yet again from Bob.
I'm not Bob, bro.
I know, but he's called me out 4 times in the chat. I'm not going to block him. I'm not like his guys. So anyway, I told him from the beginning in the comments what I wanted to talk about. He said, either you're going to get blocked or you come on stream and talk about it, and it was that pattern. So I emailed him specifically about the pattern, and then I told him at the beginning of that conversation, this is why I don't think this works.
Yeah.
This seems like a useless tool.
I
don't know. His main comments are that I've been bad faith and I was looking for a gotcha moment. There is nothing about that that's bad faith.
Man.
There was no gotcha moment. I'm done talking about
Bob, bro. Let's go ahead and sort of talk about this discussion at hand, because it seems to me what you really want to do is that you want to sort of look at these particular specific moments, right? Chappelle shouldn't have been attacked. The transporter shouldn't have been attacked. That dude probably shouldn't have brought a fucking knife to a peaceful protest. But
a knife?
Yeah, well, a weapon, right? He had a weapon on him?
No, he had a sign that said "Jokes are funny." They literally tore the cardboard off the sign so that he was just holding a stick, and then said he's got a weapon.
Did he have a weapon? I asked you if he had a weapon.
No, he was literally had the stick. So how would you protest with a sign? You would generally put it on some sort of, you're not just going to hold poster board, right? You're going to have a stick or something.
Well, look, man.
So they ripped that off of there and then claimed that he had a weapon to try and get something to happen to him.
I'm not going to fucking sit here and do this case by case fucking thing because you seem to really, really be stuck on that sort of media and you want to report on it, bro. That's not my thing.
What do you mean that sort of media?
Yeah, that's sort of super liberals behaving badly bullshit. I get it on my end too, bro. It's just I'm smart enough to understand that I am going to be shown the most extreme fucking things that aren't representative of the whole, right? Because here's the thing, bro. I, as a liberal, as a leftist, right? I see a lot of fucking cringy, fucked up shit on the right too, right? There's fucking right-wing protesters who literally, there's right-wing dudes who just ran over protesters, killed one of them. Right, we could sit here, we could trade back and forth. All this.
What does it have to do with comedy or
exactly,
free
bro?
Speech,
what
man?
does it have to do with comedy and free speech? So,
everything that I was talking about was people trying to cancel a comedian for his speech. So I don't know how you tried to bring in Charlottesville to this. That really seems disingenuous.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying because you're
this incident is specifically because of Chappelle, who they tried to cancel.
You can look back in the history of all humankind and see crazy fucking individuals, unhinged fucking people from all spectrums, all fucking walks of life, fucking do that shit. So yeah, I'm surprised, dude. Unhinged people exist and they do fucked up shit. I don't see what that fucking says about the overall groups of people we're talking about, right? Like, let me ask you right now, bro, that trans person who attacked Dave Chappelle, what does that say? What does that person's actions say about the greater trans community?
I wouldn't say anything about that.
Absolutely nothing, right?
Because I don't like judge an entire community off of a single person's actions.
Exactly. So I'm glad to hear that, dude. But like when you say shit like that, because you seem to be focusing
say shit like what?
expressly on these leftist fucking things, leftists behaving badly, right? And like I tell you, dude, I've
never said that in my life. I don't know what you're talking about, leftists behaving badly. I talked about Kathy Griffin. It wasn't the leftists who were attacking her who canceled her. I'm pretty sure that was the right wing people. Bob asked about the Bud Light.
You know, honestly, great. Like, I love that you're talking like this, bro. I love that you're talking like this, honestly, because I know you and your audience. You know, you're all on this whole. You think you're doing something. Your audience thinks you're doing something, and it's cute and it's adorable. I love it, man.
I'm glad you think what I'm doing is cute, but I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm giving my opinion. I'm not a right winger.
Let me talk, bro. Let me talk. I'm not saying you are. But what I love is that this sort of pedantic, like myopic conversation, you know, this is why people are so like moving away from this right-wing sort of attitude on shit, bro. Because like, listen, a lot of people are gonna be, if a normal person sees this conversation, right, what they're gonna see is, and the same thing with you and Bob, by the way, it's just you being painfully pedantic and thinking that is an effective or interesting debating tactic, dude. And look, bro, like whatever, we're getting into this heated shit. I'm sure it's great entertainment, but ultimately it's just pedantic. And listen, this is not a conversation that I haven't had before. Everybody has had this conversation with someone like you, man. So
what do you mean someone like me? So you like said a bunch of like
this, who thinks this pedantic fucking argumentation is doing something.
So you think like bringing up facts is pedantic? See, like I brought up the facts of what happened in the Dave Chappelle thing. Instead of like bringing up facts, you literally were talking about, hey, all these 90s comedians are claiming that. The one that you brought up, I happen to know for a fact, isn't claiming that. Like, I don't know, maybe Jim Brewer did in the past, but I literally just saw him on Rogan. He is not claiming that
and I heard him a year ago bitching about cancel culture in his fucking special, dude. In the special. You can watch it. He complains about it there to his sold-out fucking audience, bro. All right? Listen, like, this pedantic argumentation, this whole, like, it's facts, it's so tired and it's so hackneyed, bro. Like, because what it does is that it essentially shows and exposes this sort of, like, disease that a lot of people like you have, man, where you think that, like,
what is the disease that I have?
Yeah, this sort of like pseudo-intellectual exercise or robbing things of their sort of context.
As opposed to your, like, what? Completely vague, non-actual fact?
Well,
like,
listen, bro, we were talking
you're
about...
You're not talking about any actual thing, though. You're talking about every 90s comedian. So
exactly, because we're talking about the broader issue of free speech within comedy. I don't think we need to go into exact examples of like a comedian's events here or there, because the overall conversation we're having, bro, is very broad.
It's not broad when you're saying every one of them is saying that, you know, they're just not making the same money, and that's cancel culture.
Right here, it's called a generality, son.
You're right.
Generality,
and it's way too general, and that's why I'm asking you for anything specific.
Shorthand, and you know it, and you're still being pedantic in this shit, bro.
You can call it pedantic. We're literally talking about this subject.
I love it because the more that I can fucking bring this out there, the more that I can show people this like weak sauce, like uncritical, like unfucking like in a vacuum sort of like way of viewing things, it's just gonna like remind everybody else of all the other people like you, dude, and it's just gonna keep growing.
What would that be? What are the other people like me? I think Vincent has a really good comment here that he doesn't think you see me as an individual. You keep calling me people like you. What does that mean to you? You're not explaining it. Pedantic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that I'm pedantic. I do think that facts matter. I do think that, you know, you can't just always talk in generalities unless you're going to say the generality is everything's okay. Well, and if that's your generality, then okay, I'll totally get on board with that.
You wanted to talk about like you want to talk about the relationship between free speech and comedy. And then you're over here being like, what about this thing that happened to this one guy? What about this one thing that happened to that one guy? When the answer is just like the same, like they shouldn't be behaving like that. What does any of that have to do?
Behaving like what? What do you mean they shouldn't be behaving like that,
bro?
So, okay, I asked you like
Oh,
who
bro,
is behaving
have you
unhinged
ever had a
and what.
conversation with another person? Like,
I
do
have.
you need this constant like reassurance and like reiteration on all these things, dude? Or can I speak to you like a human being with generalities that
I would love it if you did speak to me like a human being.
I'm trying
So
to, dude.
your
I'm
generalities of they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't be. You're not
Listen,
actually
okay,
saying anything.
okay. So let's go ahead
so
and
what
recenter it.
is
Let's go ahead
off
and recenter
limits?
it.
So you mentioned
Nothing,
Chappelle talking about
nothing
trans
is off
people.
limits. Nothing
Okay.
is off limits at all.
Well,
That's
you
what I'm
mentioned
saying, bro.
that you mentioned that Chappelle shouldn't be talking about trans people in his comedy. Why?
I wouldn't say that he shouldn't be. And I don't know if I said those exact words. If I did, I take it back. Like, he can say whatever he wants. That's fine. Like, if he wants to talk about trans people, he can. But
Damn it. So I
everybody
guess the
else,
audience is hearing the same thing that you were saying, where you're saying it was only in the one side. That sucks.
shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which of us screwed it up. One of us did.
We'll just figure it out in post or whatever. But look, man, let's just take this all the way back, bro, because it all comes down to the same umbrella of stand-up comedy, right? And the nature of stand-up comedy and how it relates to free speech. Am I correct? That's the ultimate discussion at hand here.
Yeah. Okay, Bob. So I think it is all about free speech. And
yes.
You were basically saying that there are certain things that shouldn't be said, that these people
I never said, okay, listen, if that's the impression I gave off, I'm sorry. Let's just go ahead and I'm going to say it right now, just flat out. Anybody can say whatever they want.
Okay.
Anybody can say
I would agree with that generality. That is totally cool with me.
Okay.
Earlier, when you were talking about Chappelle, you made it sound like you didn't want him to be able to make trans jokes, or that it was off limits to.
I'm sorry, bro. I don't know where you got this impression of me, and I don't know what I said, but I'm gonna reiterate it. Anybody can say whatever they want, dude.
Okay.
All right, like that. Period. Flat out. Like,
no, I heard you. I was just saying earlier. I got that impression from you, so that's why I was on that.
All right.
So, in your initial comment to me, you were saying that free speech isn't a comedian saying edgy jokes, and it's everyone else's right to deny them hard-earned cash or support. If that's all you're saying, that like it's like you're not going to support them with your dollars, I totally agree with that. That is, nobody's entitled to everybody's support. Again, it is subjective. So if you are saying that they can do that and it's just a matter of you don't support them, hell yeah, we both agree with that.
You see, this is what I mean by that pedantic shit, bro. Because look, put that up for me. Put that back up for me. Put that fucking that sentence back up for me, will you?
Yeah.
Okay, read it out loud.
Yeah, I literally did a second ago. Free speech is a comedian saying edgy jokes. It's also everyone's right to deny them their hard-earned cash and support.
Yeah, bro, because
I literally just said, if that's all you're talking about, we agree. And I told you that in my response to this.
All right, man. All right. So
but your next thing is this comment, which is, frankly, most of the comedians crying cancel culture are rich, out of touch, mainly coasting off the success of their better work from when they were poorer and in touch with the working class.
Yes.
So that seems like a huge generality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing the rich, out of touch comedians that you're talking about would be like Chappelle.
Yes,
right.
It actually, no. It's funny you say that because that is specifically what I'm talking about with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's
why I watched this thing.
Well, right. Well, let's look at the Elon Musk issue, right? Like, he brought Elon Musk on stage, clearly expecting everybody to think he's fucking badass, right? He even said,
I don't know about that. That's mind reading that you're saying he's thinking this as opposed to he's in Austin.
Well, bro,
Elon's in Austin. They're both like big celebrities.
It was in San Francisco.
I don't know.
San Francisco. No, dude. Fucking look it up on YouTube. Go ahead, pull it up.
For you to say that it's simply because he wants to look cool.
We can pull it up on YouTube, son. Let's just pull it up on YouTube right now and watch it. Here.
Why? Okay. I believe Ed left. I'm not exactly sure why. Okay. And it looks like we might have him back.
Sorry, I dropped out there for a minute. But
no, it's all good.
Why don't we get ready on this one? We could just watch. Let's go ahead and watch.
I don't know what bringing that up would say. Just you were saying that he brought him up clearly because he wants to look cool.
He said, "This is my friend, bro."
Yes.
He literally said, "This is my friend, Elon Musk." Do you ever?
That's all I'm saying.
Like, ever bring up someone and introduce them as their friend if they didn't expect the audience to fucking receive them warmly, bro?
I mean, yeah, it happens all the time. Like that
Okay,
is
then,
one of the
great.
bits that Dave Chappelle had in there. He had that Daphne lady open for him,
Jesus
and she
fucking
just ate
Christ,
shit.
bro. Listen, you got to keep fucking moving back to this point because you don't know where I'm going with this. But I promise you, dog, it's not gonna bite you. So just sit down for a minute, all right? What I mean by that, bro.
Hey, have
is
you
when
ever
it
had a
comes to
conversation with
comedy-
anyone else, Ed? Because you seem to be very belittling and very shitty to me earlier. But
Dude,
it's not
because
like
this
you're
is
actually doing
obnoxious.
like a good
This
back
is
and forth here.
obnoxious, bro.
Hey, am I telling you to sit down and just listen to this? That
No,
you don't know where
no,
I'm
no,
going?
no, no, no.
No,
No,
I'm
honestly,
not. I'm
but-
trying to
but I
actually
want-
talk to you and take it on point by point instead of your soliloquies where,
Right.
you know, you
But-
just
but that's
keep
because-
going on and there's like 5 points in there and I don't get to address all of them.
Okay, all
Instead,
right.
we get stuck
Okay,
back and
man, but
forth on
listen.
one of them.
All right, so,
So let's take a little bit more turns, okay?
All right, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Like I said, especially when it comes to stand-up comedy, all artists, essentially, any public figure, relatability fucking matters. All right. Because you want to relate to the people you watch, you know? And that's what I mean. Like earlier, Dave Chappelle, I love that shit because I can relate to the shit he was fucking talking about. I can't relate to him anymore because he's over there talking about like the millions of
So
dollars.
you
deals.
haven't watched it.
Hold on, bro. I watched his first special, which is what I'm talking about specifically. All right. In that special, he's going on and on about the millions of dollars and this and that. And don't get me wrong, it was interesting, but I couldn't relate to it. So I
Okay,
stopped.
I believe that was 4
Okay,
specials
but what I'm
ago.
saying- exactly, bro? The one that I saw. I don't even know what's the point of even iterating on this. It's just a fucking fact, bro. Let it go. But look, what I'm saying.
So it's not a fact. It's your opinion, though.
It's not a fact that I watched this first special.
No, you talked about
watched his
him
first
being
special. It's
out
a
of touch and him not being as consistent as he was
Jesus
back in the day.
Christ, dog.
That's an
Because
opinion. You're saying it's a fact, but it's like, hey,
It's a fact that I watched his first special, which is what I'm referring to. I never at all.
okay.
You're the one who's trying to fucking act like I'm speaking about anything else here, dude.
No,
In his first special,
I never said that you didn't watch his special.
you literally said that.
No, you said
Bro,
it's a
bro,
fact,
all right,
and
okay,
you had
listen, I
previously
think-
said he is out of touch. I thought you were talking about that is the fact, not that you watched it.
Yeah, well, that's what I
Can
was
you understand how there'd be confusion in there?
All right, man. So listen, I watched his first special. I found it unrelatable. Okay,
Okay.
that's it. So I kind of lost interest. Simple as that. And he's to the point now where not only is he arguing with teenagers, an old man arguing with teenagers about how they're wrong, even though society's in their fucking hands, you know, and now he's fucking bringing up Elon Musk. And look, man, the guy is successful. I'm glad he's doing great. The fact that he is doing great should be all the proof you need to understand that the whole fucking cancel culture thing is a bunch of bullshit. But what I'm saying is, dude,
So because they failed at that, it's all bullshit.
failed at what?
So do you like not believe in attempted murder or like attempted any
Whoa,
other
wait,
crime?
wait. Failed at what? Failed at what? Exactly.
So
What is-
there was an attempt to cancel him, and the cancellation failed. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. That literally doesn't track.
I mean, dude, if you want to get stuck on that pedantic fucking,
You can call it pedantic, but it's
semantic
like
bullshit,
you're
bro,
saying
again, that's
some
fine.
blanket statements that aren't true or accurate.
Yes,
so
again,
because he
it's
wasn't
called shorthand.
because he
It's
wasn't
how
permanently
people have
canceled.
created for hundreds of thousands of years. I'm frankly surprised this is all new to you, dude. But yeah, people speak in generalities because, believe it or not, pedantic bullshit is not an efficient or even great way of discussing shit, dog. Seriously.
No, but it would be an accurate way as opposed to a very inaccurate general conversation that's not talking about anything.
So now you're making excuses for being pedantic. I'm not talking about anything.
No,
because-
I'm literally saying, hey, what you're calling pedantic is actually looking for some evidence and
that's
actually
exactly
talking
what a
about.
pedantic person would say. Oh my fucking god.
So then you're like Bob. You think that evidence doesn't matter.
No. I love this shit. What is it with you pedantic fucking people, bro? It's just like having
Hey, man,
no fucking like
I'm not name calling at
for-
all.
I'm
You
not
keep
name-calling
calling me
either.
pedantic because I want to actually get into the specifics
Yeah,
of
because
anything.
like yeah, the specifics are so like petty and they're just getting down to semantics and shit like that. And again, bro, please keep it up because this is the exact same. This is the reason why people are sick and tired of this shit, bro. Honestly, I'm willing to take it if it helps prove my overall point here, dog. But listen, when
Patrick
it
brings
comes
up a
to this
question.
show
Was
and shit,
pedantic on your word a day calendar or something? Like, is there a reason why you keep saying that?
is it on
You
your
wanna go with
stuff?
anything else?
Is that your main philosophy for life? Because between this conversation and the one you had with Bob, it seems like it's the only move you got, dog.
Well, accuracy or truth is my main move and my main attempt It's what I
Please,
hold as the highest value.
go.
So
Let's go.
it
I did
involves
too, dude. I did
evidence.
too, but but there's plenty of ways to do it without being this fucking petty, dog. For real, just try talking like a normal human being. Can we do that?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
All right, man.
I'm not
Okay, so-
stopping and calling you pedantic.
Okay, because I'm not, bro. I'm
You could at
letting
least,
the conversation move on.
change it up. Like, Wallace
Stop
and Gromit
being
fan here is
pedantic,
calling me
also calling you
nitpicky.
pedantic, dog.
Hey, you could call me
Like, what do you want me
particular.
to do?
You could call me like investigative. There's a plethora of other words that you could use
But
other
you're not.
than
You're just
pedantic.
pedantic because you to be those other things, there would be a purpose to it. The fact that there is no point to it, other than you just wanting to be incredibly nitpicky about shit, to sort of try to pick apart the syntax.
Well, when you say that every 90s
arguments,
comedian is making less money and claiming that it's because they're just out of touch, I'm sorry, we need to get more specific than that. Where do you go from somebody saying
Let me ask you a
every
question.
90s
Let me ask you a
comedian
question. Let me
is
ask you a
saying
question, bro. Let me ask you a question.
that? Yeah,
On the whole, because I said that as a generality. I already said that. All right.
I know. That's
On the
all you
whole,
said.
okay. So you understand that it's a generality. Okay.
Yes.
On the whole, do you think that comedians from the 60s were doing as well in the 90s as they were on the 60s, generally speaking?
I
When the
mean,
90s had its own class.
it really depends which, because there's a whole bunch of
that's
them
why I
that
said
died from the
generalities,
60s.
bro. That's why I said generalities. Generally speaking, do you believe that a comedian from the 60s, for a comedian from the 60s,
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
90s,
there were definitely some that were like, I don't know.
okay, but
You've got
generally
like,
speaking, no, right? Generally speaking, no.
generally speaking, the career of a comedian is not like 30 years. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys, I'm trying with this guy. I really am.
Okay.
No,
So
bro.
what is your point?
Okay. So
So
listen,
your point is that these guys are all out of
it's
touch.
a generality. Like, if you can understand that, generally speaking, a comedian is not going to fare well in their youth, fare well when they're old, in their like 30 years after their prime, as they did when they were in their prime. Like, if you understand that, dude, then what's the point of fucking going into this pedantic bullshit, dog? For real, what is the point of it? I told you we're
So
speaking.
the point of it is
Hold on, and we're
trying to
speaking
actually get to the
generalities
truth.
hold on. Yes, and we're speaking in generalities because the truth is actually very broad, right? The main what's the fucking title of this episode? Comedy is free speech, but I could be wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Comedy is free speech. Period.
Okay,
Right?
cool.
We don't really need to get much further into specific careers or specific acts, because overall, we're not disagreeing on the basic idea here. What I'm saying, bro, is that you, and please don't take any offense to this, you're gullible, bro. You're just straight up gullible.
I'm gullible.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I did want to bring that up as well, because you called me a mark for comedy. I can't find the actual comment, but yeah, essentially it's the same type of deal. You called me a
mark. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and you're now calling me gullible.
Yes.
I would like you to actually back any of those accusations with how. So how am I gullible?
Because we both generally just agreed here that comedians will not be doing as well financially 30 years past their prime. So
we didn't agree that.
So generally,
you did not say that at all. Hey, Ed, you
but am I
gotta
wrong?
wait here now.
Okay, but am I wrong?
Okay, hold on. So you said somebody from the 60s, were they doing as well in the 90s? I agreed.
30 years.
No, they weren't. Hey, hold on, Ed. I let you finish. Hold on, buddy. So I agreed. No, they wouldn't. I didn't say, would somebody 30 years past their prime be more out of touch? Obviously, that would be the case.
I'm sorry.
No. It's begging the question by saying that they're past their prime by 30 years, Ed.
How are they different, dog? How are they functionally different, dog? Please answer me that.
So you're talking about somebody from the 90s, so let's talk about Chappelle, and you're saying that he's out of touch now. You're saying that he's past his prime.
Yes.
I disagree with that. He is still considered the greatest of all time.
I'm not denying that either. But I'm still saying,
well,
would you rather watch?
That's not what you're talking about.
Would you rather watch
so
his older
he
stuff?
is not past his prime, and he is 30 years past.
I'm saying
that.
past his prime in terms of being in touch with society. Why do you think I'm talking about?
I completely disagree with you on that as well.
Okay, he argued with a bunch of fucking 17-year-olds, dog. He argued to high schoolers. He brought Elon Musk out thinking everybody was going to love him as much as he did, and they didn't. I mean,
what's your point with that? That has absolutely nothing to do with free speech or comedy.
No, you're right. It has to do with being out of touch, which is all I'm saying. What you're doing is you're conflating me saying that he's out of touch with me saying,
because the audience didn't accept Elon Musk because they didn't.
This pedantic shit. Listen, dog. What I'm saying is very fucking simple, bro. When I'm saying he's out of touch, I'm saying he's out of touch with like the zeitgeist, with where society is going. I'm not saying he's out of touch with the whole comedy scene. I'm not saying he's unsuccessful. I'm not saying he's not great. He is. He was a big.
You're saying he's past his prime, and you're just completely wrong on that.
Okay, bro, it's fine if you feel that way. This is a subjective fucking thing to believe, anyways. Okay. And if you can fucking tell me X, Y, and Z say otherwise, fine. My opinion is that he's out
Patrick
of touch.
brings up another great one. What about Bill Burr? He was a 90s
Bill
comedian.
Burr
is he past his prime?
Dude, Bill Burr is out there fucking clowning on conservatives left and right, dog. Maybe
Bill Burr is hilarious.
Bill Burr
great. He also is clowning on the left. Bill Burr seems to be equal opportunity. He's awesome. I love Bill Burr.
He's more in touch with the zeitgeist. So no, I can't say he's out of touch with society. I can't speak to how that translates to comedy and all that. But in terms of how societal attitudes are going, he's out of touch. Because, bro, I'm sorry to break it to you, but people are only getting more and more accepting of the LGBT community. We're not going backwards. All right? Gen Z.
Do you think that I have an issue with that or anything?
No, but that's what I'm saying. If society is moving,
it seems like you think less.
Society is moving further and further towards trans acceptance, and fucking Dave Chappelle is over here shouting at a bunch of high schoolers about how they shouldn't be that way. Then does that not?
Is that what happened? Did he just run up to some high schoolers and start yelling at them?
Why does that fucking matter? He fucking did a little auditorium thing, and then he fucking had a bunch of kids fucking come up and like talk to him about the trans issue, and none of them were fucking like friendly towards him, and he started getting really pissed off about it. That's what happened. Yeah, I don't think anybody.
That's not exactly what happened.
It too. Listen, the details of what happened here and there are irrelevant because this conversation isn't about Dave
Details
Chappelle.
Are not irrelevant, Ed. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No, details are irrelevant. No, just listen to me. I've got this feeling, and you just need to listen to this feeling.
Guys, you see that shit? Like, I'm trying to be specific, and he's already jumping.
No, you're not. You're literally trying to. You literally said the details don't matter. That is the opposite of specific, Ed.
Because the conversation we're having is not about Dave Chappelle, bro. It's about free speech.
That's yes, and you keep bringing up that, okay, so he apparently talked to some kids, and you think that he just went there to yell at some kids, which isn't accurate to how that happened. I tried to explain that the details are different, and then you said the details are irrelevant. So it really seems shitty. You're going off of your feeling, not the actual facts of the subject, of the case. It's really, really shitty.
We're not talking about Dave Chappelle specifically. We're talking about comedy.
No, of course, you're not talking about anything specifically, are you? Why get into the actual specifics of anything?
What is the fucking purpose of getting into the specifics of Dave Chappelle when we're talking about free speech? Can you answer that for me?
Yeah, you brought up two situations, and then I tried to explain, hey, that's not the full context for them. And you said, hey, the details are irrelevant. Right, you brought up the Elon Musk thing. I tried to talk about that, and you wouldn't let me. And then I tried to talk about when you said that he's yelling at kids.
Yeah, because he did end up yelling at kids. That's what he did.
Okay, so I tried to actually explain the situation there, and you wouldn't let me.
Were you
there? Were you there, Ed?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe somehow your information is the only accurate one.
You're the one who's fucking being here like, well, that's not what happened, bro. And I'm saying it doesn't fucking matter. So if neither of us are there, how about we just drop it completely? Because
no, you're right. You're right. So you're right. I have, the actual details of the situation, and you don't. So let's drop it. Okay. Moving on. What else do you want to talk about? You're right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next subject.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about this racism thing that you had with Bob. Because I thought that was a pretty
interesting thing that I had with Bob.
Yeah, the conversation you guys had about race and all that shit. I thought it was a pretty interesting one.
So it wasn't about race. It was literally okay.
Well, I mean, it's fine you feel that way, but I mean, it's not race to me. So let's.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Okay.
About this,
so what it was about was I saw Bob and Dane go on Sitch and Adam show, and they were talking about how they call someone a bigot, and what they do for that is they use a pattern of behavior or a repeated pattern of behavior.
Hilarious, bro. That was fucking hilarious, dog. No, I love that.
That was a really horrible conversation.
No, that was great, honestly, because like Bob kept like giving defining all your terms, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, but like, how many times does somebody have to? Like, you were just being pedantic the whole time, bro.
No, he literally begged the question like 50 times, where he said, "Okay, so if this pattern is going on, if somebody is committing what you consider racist, and they're doing it all the time, what would you call that?" It's like, yeah, that's a pattern. But I can't. He wouldn't answer one time the actual question that I asked him in chat, that I sent him in the email, that I asked him at the beginning of the stream. when does that pattern start? And he couldn't answer that. And he didn't engage with that once. It's really
because
shitty.
It's pedantic. Because it's a pedantic point. Because it's not like a fucking like rubric. What you're trying to do is to try to like put everything into a box so
Is
that you can
pedantic like
it, like,
your
on a
word of the
rubric,
day
bro.
or
Is
something?
it yours, bro? Because you won't
Do
stop
you get
doing
points?
it.
Hey, man, you've said it like 50 times. Do you get
'Cause you've
points
been
every time you
pedantic
say it?
about
Did you
50
make a
times.
bet
Actually,
or
you've been
something?
pedantic about 100 times, bro. I've actually been keeping my mouth shut a little bit. But listen, dog. Let's get down to let's just get down to it, right?
Okay.
The free speech conversation, is it over? We done? We over it? Gone?
So, I don't know. Did you? It seems really shitty the way that you wouldn't get into any of it. But okay, if you're saying like comedy is free speech, cool. We don't disagree.
Yeah, I'm just saying you're a mark for caring about this
Okay,
shit.
you didn't explain anything about that. So
Okay,
how
yeah,
am
well,
I a mark?
let's go ahead
So
and get into
because
that. Let's
I
go ahead and get
enjoy
into
it
that.
and I think it was good, I'm a mark. But
No.
you're somehow
that is not what I
better than that because you watched 4 specials ago and decided it's not your cup of tea. So now you know that he's out of touch.
No,
So
not at all.
that's how I'm a
so
mark?
far. No, you're a mark because you still think that like comedians losing their audience because of things they did and said, because you think that's a free speech issue. That's
Yeah,
your
those
mark.
things they said, yes, that would be a free speech issue.
Why is that?
Because that's literally what we're talking about. You
So they
should
said
be
a
free
thing,
to say anything you
Yes,
want.
you should be free to say, but we said earlier that just because you say a thing doesn't mean that you're owed a fucking career for it, right?
Yeah, nobody has said that you're owed a career for it.
Okay, so
but
if you agree that
also
nobody is-
have that contract with the audience that their job is to either laugh, and that means you're successful, or they don't laugh, and then you're not.
Right, exactly. So
you're talking about going
culture-
beyond that and trying to stop people from like getting further employment or cancel them from Netflix.
I don't think cancel culture exists. Well, okay, cancel culture does exist.
I understand.
I actually think it exists more on the right because if you look at what happened between like Kathy Griffiths and Lindsay Ellis, that's actual cancel culture. What the right calls cancel culture is like bizarre, right? Because like give me an example. All right, the Dave Chappelle thing. It's not cancel culture because the dude is still selling. He's doing fine, right?
So again, that seems really, really shitty and reductive. Do you believe that like
well,
attempted murder is a crime?
Give me another, of course.
Okay.
Give me another example.
No, attempted murder. Do you believe that attempted
Yes, of
murder
course.
or attempted robbery? Okay,
Right.
this was attempted cancellation. It still happened. It still exists. Just because there is somebody who didn't actually permanently get canceled doesn't mean that cancel culture doesn't exist.
So if
Doesn't
it
mean that
didn't-
people don't get canceled.
Right, but you see, in order for something to be a phenomenon, it has to be like an ongoing thing, right? Like a constant fucking like actual force, like an intent thing. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and present you a situation here, and then you tell me is this cancel culture or not? All right, and it's gonna be very simple.
Okay.
A comedian in a comedy bit says something really offensive, incredibly offensive to everybody that wasn't funny, and nobody liked his work, and therefore he doesn't get to have a career in comedy. Is that cancel culture?
No. Well, it depends on what you mean he doesn't get to have a career.
Okay, all right. Well,
Is it you would have to kind of go into that. Like, did people, try and get him fired from the club? Did they talk to his agent, get him dropped from that?
you see, like, no, bro, like I literally just told you what it was. Nobody liked his shit, so he didn't get to have a career.
Yeah, then that wouldn't be it. But if you're talking about,
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a very specific thing here. I'm talking about
it wasn't that specific, and that's why I asked you for more specifics. So just saying that the audience wasn't there, that could be that he was canceled.
Hold on. I just want to be crystal clear here. I'm going to reiterate it one more time. In a situation where a comedian says something incredibly offensive that nobody thinks is funny and they don't get a career, let's just say because they never learned from it and they keep doing it, is that cancel culture?
I don't believe anyone would consider that cancel culture.
Okay,
it appears to be
that's the limit
somebody who's failing at comedy, and then they don't ever proceed in their career. Nobody is calling that cancel culture.
Okay, so if an established comedian comes back and says something deeply offensive that nobody likes and nobody wants to fucking watch him anymore, is that cancel culture?
So I wouldn't call that cancel culture. Like, are you talking about like, so for instance, if you want to talk about like Kramer, I don't know if that's technically cancel culture. Like everyone got a glimpse of how racist that dude is, and it seems like they realized, that wasn't funny. He was literally just on a racist tirade. Like there was no comedy whatsoever in that. It happened at a comedy club, but it wasn't part of a bit. It was, he just lost his temper and then just went super, super bad.
Okay.
To me, that seems like that wouldn't be cancel culture. That would be, someone severely fucking up at their job.
Okay, so let me give you another one.
Well, hold on. So let me give you an example that would be. So in the comments a little bit earlier, they mentioned Justine Sacco. Are you familiar with Justine Sacco?
Nope. Go ahead, tell me about it.
So she did get canceled. She did a joke on Twitter. She was on a plane ride to Africa, and she basically said,
right.
Yeah, it's the one that I talked about in that thing. So that I would consider cancel culture because she has tried to make amends for it. She has apologized numerous times, and to this day, she cannot get a job.
Yeah,
that seems like she was permanently canceled.
That would be cancel culture, 100%.
It sucks because she wasn't a comedian. She tried a super edgy joke, and that was horrible. Like,
and that's totally unfair. But I think also she was a woman who existed in modern times where your social media is a part of your job. Like, listen, I don't think. First of all, I just want to get this out front, man. Like, I believe in reform. I believe in people make mistakes, awesome. But we need to give them a chance to do better. And when it comes to Justine Sacco, I think it's fucked up that nobody's given her the chance to do better. Like, let's just be upfront, right? But like that is the case of cancel culture. But even then, like it's just like a changing societal role. Listen, somebody was going to do that. That was going to happen to someone eventually because of the way society was going, right? And it's unfortunate it happened to her, but if it wasn't her, it was going to be someone else because that's just where things are going.
She's like a sacrifice. Like it just has to happen. We need to appease some
hey man, that's
God or something.
Human beings are irrational creatures. I'm not defending it. I am not defending it. I think it's
just
wrong.
Seems bad.
It is wrong. It is bad. But hey, humanity is irrational and occasionally wrong and bad. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that there does have to be some sort of lane for forgiveness. It sounded like you were also in favor of that. I don't see that necessarily being there, and that's what people are calling cancel culture.
Right. And
have you heard of FIRE, the Foundation for Individual? No. FIRE. It's a Foundation for Individual Rights, and I think it used to be education. I think they switched it, but I can't remember.
Okay.
But FIRE has a list of everyone who's been canceled since the year 2000 for free speech issues.
According to FIRE.
Yes, they are a free speech, a free speech rights.
Well, I mean, anybody can come up with a cool little anagram and say they're a free speech.
No, so these are specifically scholars, so people who have been fired for free speech issues at schools.
Okay.
So there's currently a list
of
people
with a personal stake here who are not impartial, right? So it's people who are inherently impartial because they've been affected by this and are probably
actually it goes through. It says what political motivation, if it's from the left or from the right. It's very even, but this group has found over 1,093 cases of people that have been fired for free speech issues. They've been canceled for the words that they actually said.
Again, it's unless the government has stepped in.
Well, you're saying it doesn't exist.
Yes, unless the government has come in and taken away their right to speak, it's not a free speech issue. We agreed to that, right? So I highly doubt there have been 1,039 examples, and I doubt that if I were to go on that website right now, it is on the hands of any actual politician, right?
So no, but they are getting fired for their actual. We could go through the list of them, but it's for like their views, their opinions, what they actually said.
Right.
So,
and I mean, you could sue someone.
No.
Right?
But you were saying earlier that cancel culture doesn't exist. You don't believe in it. Well, you've just accepted a whole bunch of examples of it, and I've got 1,093 other ones that I could give you.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
Cancel culture exists. Try and tell Justine Sacco that it doesn't exist.
Okay, yeah, all right. In that particular case, sure. But
no, not just her case. There's nearly 2,000 cases.
Well, okay. Let's just say, would you say that cancel culture and free speech are equal? Like they're inherently tied to each other?
No, we have an actual constitutional amendment that says we have the right to free speech.
Exactly.
So No, I don't think mob rule, collectively trying to make sure that somebody cannot, either get financial.
Let's be totally real here. There was no mob that came after Justine Sacco, right? She acted in a way.
It was a Twitter mob.
Yeah, well, whatever that meant, it
was an outrage mob. Society, right? I mean, does it have to be a physical one for you to call it a mob? What would you call it if a bunch of people pile on?
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question: if all those people came after her, whether that is a mob or not, is that against free speech?
So it depends.
They're private individuals who are expressing their distrust and acting on that dislike of what she did.
So it really depends. It really depends on what you view Twitter as. If they are actually like a platform, the town square. Hold on. So I understand what you're saying. It is a private company, but it is acting as our town square. If it is our town square, then that is Twitter. They went after her. I believe they completely nuked her profile and everything.
Well, they probably because they violated her terms of their terms of service as a private entity. They're able to do that.
So. Okay, so the joke is offensive. It's, I'm going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white. No part of that is hate speech. It's a very offensive joke, but it doesn't break their terms of service.
Well, I mean, it is a little bit. I could see how it could be hate speech because she did have to bring the fact that she's white, which is inviting a comparison, right? If she didn't say that she was white,
I have seen like 10 jokes worse than that on Twitter today. It doesn't appear to be.
She's the one who lost her profile.
No, but you're saying it's against their terms of service. I don't think it is. I've seen much worse.
Well, it's not your terms of service. It's Twitter's, and they get to decide how they enact
their terms of service.
So if Justine Sacco, because like you said, you've seen things that are probably 10 times worse, and Twitter lets that go. So if Twitter, I mean, they're a private entity, dude. They can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to let 10 go, that's totally fine. If this one person pisses them off and they take her profile out, hey, she still has free speech, bro. She could go on other platforms and she can speak openly and talk to people.
So, yeah, that really is the difference between how you're actually viewing Twitter and how everybody else. Well, everybody else. There seems to be two camps here. One is calling it more of a utility. One is calling it, an actual public square type deal. And then the other is saying it's just a private company.
Well, then let's be objective, right?
Yeah.
Twitter is a private entity that served as a town square.
It's somewhat yes. If you want to split the baby, yes.
There's no splitting the baby.
It appears to be slightly different than that. There's, they have gone ahead and declared that no, you can't kick off public officials. They can't block people because it is essentially a public square, and it's the way that they can contact them. You can't block individuals. Yeah, I think it was AOC was getting in trouble for blocking people. They basically said, from that account.
Wait, AOC?
I believe she was the one getting in trouble for blocking people. Yeah. And they basically made a ruling that she can't block her constituents.
Okay, yeah, she is a government figure.
So I'm just saying, it seems like it's quasi. It's not just, it's both. It seems like it's in a gray zone, and it is currently under debate.
Well, no, it's not for debate. Twitter is a private entity that acts as a town square that has it. And by the way, it's not the only town square. We're on another town square right now, right? Facebook is a town square. Instagram is a town square. There's hundreds of thousands of town squares.
That's the argument. And that's why people are trying to get it treated like a utility, so they wouldn't have moderation.
How is Twitter as a public square any different than any other social media?
Well, I mean, it's the biggest one currently is kind of the thing. So, I mean, it's where kind of everyone is on. It is what is currently acting as the de facto.
So functionally, when it comes to matters of being a public square, none. There's nothing differentiating it from any other social media from acting as a public square, correct? That is
it's
truth.
Success. I mean,
okay, bro, but we're not talking about success. We're talking about free speech, dog.
Well, you're asking what is making it that. It would be the fact that it is currently the largest platform. Almost every government official is on it.
Functionally, as a town square, as I've said 3 times already, it's no different than any other social media, right? So this private town square, with their own platform said, "Hey, you're not allowed on our platform." What did they do that affected her free speech? She can go on other platforms. She can still exercise the free speech in the real world. Other people, other private entities canceled her, right? And that is fucked up. And I don't think that's cool.
No,
But
it
that's
was
also not
Twitter
true.
that canceled her as
She
well.
can't get a job, bro. She still struggles to get a job. She had real world consequences for her action, but none of those consequences, as fucked up and shitty as they were a product of the government. So even though she was canceled because the government didn't fucking hurt her free speech wasn't violated. It was just a product of a louder free speech from more people.
So I wouldn't consider a mob going after you and trying to get you
Because you keep
removed from your
characterizing it
job.
as a mob, bro. You
Okay, what
only
would you
see- it's
what would
not
you characterize
people.
it at?
It's people, dude. It's just people. It's just a bunch
Okay,
of people.
when
That's
a
it.
group of people who are acting like a hive mind, who then try to contact your employer and, you know, basically demand your head. I don't know. That sounds like a mob to me. Can you tell me what the difference between?
Collectively,
Hold on, Ed.
okay,
What would be the difference between a mob and a bunch of people going after your employer to get you fired?
Well, first of all, let's be totally clear here. Not everybody in that mob who didn't like what she said called her employer, right? A couple of extremely unhinged people did, right? A couple of really loser people who ain't got nothing else to do with their lives did that, correct?
I don't know how many people it was, but there were like thousands that piled on.
Okay,
I mean,
I highly
it
doubt
was a
that
long
every
time
single
ago,
person-
so I don't remember exactly how many people piled onto her, but it was like a huge controversy.
All right, but regardless,
and she was on that whole
okay,
like
I'm not
plane.
denying that. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is unhinged people exist. Unhinged people do unhinged things, and that's very unfortunate, right? But just because unhinged, even a lot of them do shit, I wouldn't even necessarily call that mob, because in order for something to be a mob, it must be like this organized thing that everybody agrees to be a part of. If a bunch of people all agree on one thing, to me that's consensus.
So it's not everyone agreeing with it, though. It is a mob. Like, okay, so if a bunch of people get together and they have a consensus that they should lynch someone, like, is that okay because they all agreed on it? That seems like it's mob. It's going after somebody to exact some sort of, not justice, but some sort of, you know, revenge for some perceived...
I love that we're talking about lynching, and his main concern is like how that relates to like mobs. Bro, it's like I said, I gave you my answer. I gave you my definition. Unless all those people agreed, like, oh, hey, this is Justine Sacco, like, oh, we're gonna come after her, and they're waiting for this thing to happen. Like, I don't see how that is another pedantic move. See, that's, again, thank you, Patrick, for showing everybody how annoying you people are. But look, bro,
you people, what do you mean by you people?
You pedantic people.
Ed,
I don't know how else to fucking say it.
I am an individual. I would appreciate it if you called me Gray, okay?
You are
not you people.
You are Gray, you are pedantic. And then Patrick also says something pedantic. That's two people. That's called plural. So I use the pluralized version of that word. Homie, it's called conversation. Please, like, try to keep up here, all right? This isn't rocket science. But look, man, ultimately, it's not a mob because they didn't, it's not like all these people fucking like organized together to fucking like come after this person like as a whole thing. A person did a thing and a lot of people reacted to it. All those people voiced their fucking things, and a couple of unhinged assholes of all those people took the extra step to make this person's living life a nightmare. I don't think that's fucking every single person does that just because of like human nature, dude. You know?
Okay, so would you give the same difference to like a mob? So we talked about the lynching. So it's just a couple of unhinged people who actually put the rope around the neck. So is that then okay? That's just, you know, it's going to happen. They're just unhinged people. I would say that's mob mentality. It is really horrible.
Mob mentality exists. Mob mentality exists.
Yeah,
I agree.
It does.
I'm not here to tell you that mobs don't exist, bro. But what I'm saying is that if 100 people, right, all like hear something. Well, let's put it this way. Let's say you're walking out in public and one person says something hella out of pocket and everybody around them says, hey, you're a fucking asshole. Is that a mob?
I mean, you said everybody says. No, I don't know. Like it kind of depends.
I mean, okay,
because I mean, like
how pedantic, whatever you think, everyone, dude.
So if I'm just supposed to do the generalization, I would say no, but there are some details that would make that a yes. It kind of depends on what happened.
Dude, you did this shit with Bob yesterday, where like I gave you a thing, and then you're like, well, if you were talking about something else, we'd be talking about something else. Yes, Gray. If you talk about things that are not something that I said, we're talking about a different conversation. Congratulations.
Well, if you keep it extremely vague, there are other factors that could actually change.
But I wasn't being
the
vague,
situation.
dude. Nobody's gonna
You
say I was
were.
being vague, but you, dog, and that's fine. That's what I love about you, dude. You're just showing everybody what these things are. But look, bro. As far as the mob thing, so we both agree that that if 100 people, let's just say this person says something, and everybody within earshot turns around and says, "Hey, that's fucked up. You shouldn't have done that." Is that a mob?
So no,
Okay,
that would just be people talking. But if they then start to get that group mentality and actually decide, hey, we need to get some sort of justice or revenge, perceived justice out of this,
that would be
a mob. That's what happened with Twitter. People did go after her employer, and then people did go after Twitter, and Twitter did go ahead and cancel all that stuff.
Okay, but here's what we're saying. What she did is that she said something, and a bunch of people on Twitter heard what she said and said, "Hey, fuck you," which is no different functionally than what we both agreed was not a mob. Now, yes, of course, if they start acting violently collectively, yes, that is a mob, but that's not what I was talking about, right? And look, even within, right, hypothetically, in that situation where in public somebody says something, and let's just say there's 100 people there, right? Let's just say there's 100 people there, and they all start shouting, "Hey, that's fucked up, don't fucking do that." But then like 3 people start physically acting violently towards them, but it's just those 3, and like there's other people trying to that are fucking leaving them alone or trying to stop them. Is that a fucking mob?
So no, that would be 3 people being assholes.
Right. So,
but again, if everybody is, hey, Ed, I let you finish. Okay. You went on for quite a bit there. Okay. But if the crowd is riling them up and they are actually making this happen, like it just keeps on being pile on, or they're cheering the people on, then yeah, it's not just 3 unhinged people. Now it is a mob. It can easily become that.
It can, but again, bro, like what ended up happening was a bunch of people. Let's just break it down, right? How these things work. She did a thing. Shit ton of people said, "Yo, that's fucked up," and an indeterminate amount of people that neither you or I know the numbers of those angry people did something unhinged. Am I correct?
So it really depends. So there's a bunch of different factors that could come into that. I wouldn't know if you're necessarily correct. So in this scenario, anyone in the crowd doing anything other?
Bro, neither you or let's just agree here. Neither you or I know how many of all those pissed off people called Justine Sacco's boss and told her to fire her, right? Neither you or I know that.
So no, we don't know the exact number.
So you see what I mean? Like, what qualifies them as a mob is just that it's a bunch of people who are angry at a person and expressing themselves.
So
that's not a mob then.
That's not true. So it depends. What were the people saying? Were the people calling for her job? Ed, hold on, buddy. Right. So were the people actually calling for her job? Even if they didn't call her employer, that would be piling on. That would be egging on the other ones. That does seem like mob-like behavior to me. So
when you're talking about Twitter, and when you're talking about hundreds
So have you heard the term Twitter mob?
Yes, of course I've heard the term Twitter mob. Okay, but let's just be real here.
So do you think I made that up, or do you think that it has colloquial value? Like we all know that term.
Colloquial value, sure. I'm not pedantic.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about when there was a mob that ganged up on her and people went after her job.
But what I'm saying,
it seems like you're being super pedantic and you're saying that's not a mob because they don't have pitchforks.
Okay, I thought you were being more literal. That is pedantic of me. I apologize. But all right, bro. But if
I accept your apology. We're cool.
Okay. All right, but if we can both agree, right?
It was very big of you.
Right, yeah. Well, if we can both agree, dude, if we can both agree on these very simple facts, right? That it is not a mob for a shit ton of people to let me actually take a step further back, right? When you're talking about something that happens to that Justine Sacco chick, it didn't just stay on one social media site, right? It was on every social media site. Every news agency reported on it. It pissed off a good maybe 30% of the fucking country, right?
Yeah.
Just give it a rough
I wouldn't say like it was a good percentage because it's like, I don't know. Did you join in like condemning her? I didn't. But it was definitely a big pile on. Sci-Fi's Live has a question. It looks like it's for both of us. What do you qualify as a mob?
To me, a mob is whenever a group of people organize to try to harm someone.
Okay. I would agree with you. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% organized. It seems like, people start getting into that groupthink and mob mentality. I'm sure you've been, like at a game or
Sure.
something, and you kind of get that whole like crowd going. I don't know how organized it needs to be, but it does seem to, once it kind of gets to that groupthink and everyone's egging each other on, it seems to get kind of animalistic.
Okay, right. But
I
listen,
don't know that it. Yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Just he was saying like, what do you qualify as a mob? So like, if we're talking colloquially, like the Twitter mob, I'd say if you've got hundreds of people all piling on, that would be a mob to me. In person, I don't know if I saw like 20 people kind of all coming after someone, I might colloquially call it a mob. I don't know if like it would technically legally be a mob or if it is a group of people coming at you. But it seems like it would be different online than in person. If it's like 5 people online, no. But 5 people coming at you, it could feel like it's a mob. But
Well, I think one thing we can both agree on here. I think one thing we could both agree on is that there is a fine line. It's a very fine line between just a crowd and a mob, right?
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
And
it seems to be when it makes that turn.
When it makes that turn, exactly, man. But listen, like a shit ton of fucking, let's just say 30% of the United States when that happened got pissed off. That's 100 million people.
Yeah, that's
right?
a lot of people.
That's 100 million.
It definitely
people.
wasn't that.
So even if say 300 people called or did some other way out of pocket shit, like statistically speaking, relatively speaking, that's nothing new. Like you can go all the way back to history and see that kind of behavior.
Okay, I mean, like murder's been around since animals were invented. Like, does that make it right?
I'm not saying it's right, bro. I'm saying that it's nothing new.
But you kind of just like played it off like, hey, it's existed forever. Like it's gonna happen.
Right, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, bro. Like I'm not saying that it's. I'm not saying that
it seems to be implied with your like.
Let me. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not right. That's not a right thing to do. People act out of pocket. Humans are irrational, dude. Like what is the big drama here of human beings being human, acting as they have for hundreds of thousands of years? I mean, it's not right. It's not cool that happened. She did not deserve that, but it's literally nothing new, dude. So yeah, like this is a tired conversation. People should be nicer to each other. Yeah.
All right. I mean, so it seems like you've kind of come to agree that there are people who have been canceled.
Sure.
Okay. So that's what people mean by cancel culture. Like,
okay.
I don't think they're talking about Chappelle. He was able to come back. I don't think they're talking about Louis C.K. Those were attempted cancellations. Just like there's attempted murder, those were not successful. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they weren't. I think both of those guys are funny as hell. Both are different. I definitely like Chappelle more than C.K.
They're both comedians, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like,
so if so,
I look at them as individuals,
right? So if the best example we can come up for cancel culture is a private person, a private entity, and a couple of
I offered you 1,093 other people who have been canceled.
Okay,
for
all right,
fair
enough. All right, so we got that. We got Kathy Griffith who did something anti-Trump and got canceled, acted way out of pocket and shit like that. Like it seems to me,
it comes from both sides. I don't like when people get canceled. I think, you have the right to not, pay with your dollar. That's what I'm doing. If I'm not joining any mob saying, hey, you should be fired, you shouldn't have the ability to make money.
But if a majority of an audience refuses to continue supporting someone, that's not cancel culture. Can we agree to that?
Yeah. I would say, well, so if you're talking about like, the majority of somebody's fans like no longer support them because they don't like what they're doing.
I wouldn't even say
not.
the majority.
That's somebody
enough to bother them enough to cry cancel culture, dude. Because honestly, that's what I see more and more, dude. It's just like comedians, and from my experiences, dude, from like back when I still like followed stand-up comedy actively, the reason I stopped was because I got sick and tired of hearing all these whiny ass people complaining about how they weren't getting like the same numbers, or complaining about how like, the
one
college,
of them other than saying all.
Oh, let's just go with Jerry Seinfeld, dude. Like his whole complaining about how like, like college kids, they you can't talk to them the way they used to and shit, right?
Okay.
Like,
and it does seem like that is a thing. Trigger warnings are now a thing, and people seem to get offended way more than they used to. That's why this fire database that I wanted to
See,
show
that's
you,
the thing.
it
That's the
has
thing. I don't think
1,093 people who have been canceled, and it is
according to
mostly
their
in
standards. Yes.
it's scholars under fire. Yeah.
Scholars who themselves were by their own perception, they consider themselves canceled, so they are not so they have a bias here in this, like, inherently.
So if
Oh,
you get canceled, you can't be on a list because you're biased that you would be, hey, I've been canceled. That doesn't make any sense, Ed.
okay,
Like,
so let me go ahead and break it down like I'm talking to a 5-year-old, right? So let's put it this way. If a person suffers from something, right?
uh-huh. And do you think
They
that
might-
the
hold on,
person
hold
who
on,
suffered
hold
is the
on,
one
hold on.
making this list?
I'm
Or
not
do you
done
think
yet.
there's a standard that this organization has
What I'm saying
to be
is,
included on this list?
What I'm
No,
saying.
let me
is
break
that-
it down to you like you're a 5-year-old.
Okay.
So this is a
Hold on.
group. They are called the Foundation for Individual Rights. I can't remember what E stands for. It used to be in education. I think they just changed it. I really should Google it. But they have criteria for what constitutes a free speech issue on which somebody was canceled or fired.
Which they
So-
set themselves after they got canceled and fired by their
The
own.
organization sets the standard for
The
including it
organization
on
that
this.
is ran
You
by these
seem to
individuals.
act. Hold on, Ed. So why you got real shitty with me there and saying that you're going to say it like you're talking to a 5-year-old when you were actually saying that, yeah, of course these people would think they got fired. Yeah, no shit. The list isn't by these people. It's not self-reports. They would actually have to show evidence to the fire organization. They would have to meet their criteria. Then they would be included on there. Okay. Does
So
that
an
make sense to you now?
organization-
So this person.
So let's break it down further, right? An
Oh, okay.
organization is just a group of people. Okay, we got that. An organization is a group of people. If a bunch of people create an organization, and the one thing they all have in common is they've all been affected this one thing, then I think it's very reasonable to come to an understanding.
Yeah,
that maybe
that would
all
make
these-
sense if this organization was just a collection of people that were fired. That's not what it is. It's
Okay.
a bunch of free
Well,
speech
no, I
lawyers
didn't say that.
who
I
have
said-
gotten together to represent these people and take on their, claims.
who consider themselves who were consider themselves victims of
They're
cancel,
a lot.
right?
No. They're a lot like the ACLU.
Okay.
They are 100% for free speech. So no, this isn't just a collection of people that have been canceled.
Wait, but
they
how
have
can
a
they be 100%
list.
free speech if they're not even talking about a free speech issue? I mean, we both agreed that we both agreed
Every
that
one of these is a free speech issue.
No, it's not.
A
because
lot
unless
of these
it's government-
schools get money from the government. So, and they have mandates that they need to actually fulfill to the government. So
Okay.
this is a free speech issue. That's why every one of these is on that fucking list, man.
Hey, look, all those things are up for debate, bro. Like, I frankly,
It's
I
not though.
cannot-
These
I
are
cannot-
facts. Just
No,
because
it is-
you're not
it is up
aware
for
of them
debate. It
doesn't
is
mean
up
it's
for
up for debate.
listen, it is up for debate because ultimately this is the work of people, of just a group of people that can be questioned.
So
They're not
you're going to
God.
be solipsistic
They are-
on everything
they are-
because
they are
people, the
fucking God.
human, was involved. So there could be error.
All human endeavors are subject to human folly.
You're
Am I
right.
wrong?
Nothing is reliable. Nothing
I'm not
makes sense.
saying.
You're
I'm not
right.
saying-
You're
no.
right, Ed. No, you
see
won.
this,
You got
get
this.
this pedantic shit, bro. Listen, I never said that. I am not some fucking crazy right wing guy who thinks nothing and nobody can be trusted except for their own, like, whatever, quote unquote common sense and shit, bro. I'm not that fucking guy. It's a case by case thing. I think
No, you
the
seem to
last-
be saying
no,
even
no,
your
no,
common sense wouldn't work because you're human, and humans have
Yes.
errors. So
Uh-huh.
again, everything could just facts don't matter. Nothing matters.
I'm not the one saying that, bro. You're the one who's trying
It
to put that
sounds
into
like
that-
you're saying that, Ed.
But it sounds like it
So-
to you because you seem to have a certain fucking perspective here. Not can I clear? Can
It's
I
not
clarify
just to
myself?
me, buddy. Like,
Can I clarify?
here's what the comments are
Can I
saying.
clarify myself. Yeah, fine. Let the comments say what they're gonna say. I can give a fuck less, dog. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking
Okay.
to you. All right. And look,
Yeah.
we on those school. Yeah, sure. The issues that are school within those. Okay, I'll give you that. Those specific cases when it's like a school and it is a government body, that is arguably a free speech issue. But unless every single one of those cases on that list is specifically a government entity, one way or another, it's not an entirely free speech issue thing. These people, and again, the reason why I'm saying this,
Every one of these cases
listen.
qualifies for it.
Let me just clarify here. I'm not saying fire shouldn't be trusted because they're flawed human beings. I'm not saying that. I put faith in science. I put faith in expertise. I am a welder, right? Like I expect people to put faith in me and shit, So like let's not pretend that it's about that, because it's not, bro. You see, like, you did this shit with Bob yesterday too, where you just had to like reframe everything to pretend you had a point. But listen, when it comes down to it here, dude, I don't think
there was only one person reframing and pivoting.
Disagree that people that have been affected by a certain, I mean, listen, this is why people who were like the parent of a murdered child can't be a judge, right? Because we as a society understand that.
Why couldn't the parent of a murdered child be a judge? Like in that trial?
Because
no, I mean, like, why couldn't
listen,
they?
what
Like,
I'm
so if
saying
somebody
is,
has their child murdered, they can never be a judge. Like, they need to immediately, like, you know, turn in their bar. I don't understand what you're saying, man.
Okay, so
can you explain that?
Let me break it down like you're 5. So,
thank you.
In America, in America, the role of the judge is to be impartial. So, if the judge is directly affected by the crime that is at hand, and like, for example, if somebody kills a kid, the father of that kid, by constitutional law, cannot be the judge on that case because they're not impartial. It's about impartiality, bro.
So that's what I asked you. Like, yeah, if it's their kid and it's that case, yes, they could not be impartial.
Okay, and that's all.
The way that you said it before sounded like if somebody's had their kid murdered, they can't be a judge anymore. It's like,
I can't help if you're insane, dude. I can't help it that
that's
you're
what
insane.
You said.
All right, but like,
all right, the way that you talk leads to. All right.
No, bro. Hey, listen. I'm sorry, dog. That is an insane take. That is a weird place to take it, because I was being very specific. We were talking about bias. How you went from us talking about bias, which which takes place with impartiality. How you jump to that, bro? I'm sorry. You got some fucking screws loose there. Impartiality and bias are inherently tied, bro. So maybe I think I'm doing okay.
Bias are inherently tied.
I think I'm doing okay, bro. All I'm speaking for is that, like, maybe we shouldn't trust people who have been affected by this thing to report on this thing. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
So that's not what happened. So it's really fun that you've gone down like 10 different tracks of how you're going to somehow invalidate this database. Hey, Ed, I let you talk. I let you talk. You got to let me talk. Hey, we're taking turns here, buddy.
Right, but you put words in my mouth, so I'm going to clarify. I just want to clarify to make sure that everything is being understood here, right? All I'm saying, dude, there is nothing else that I'm trying to say besides this. So if you misunderstand this, it's on you at this point. Okay,
it's really not. Communication is a two-way street.
All I'm saying is what I understand. What happened is that a bunch of people who've been affected by a phenomenon took it upon themselves with, all their biases and all their experiences taken with them to create this organization that you are taking as like gospel truth or something.
Okay, so would a witness never, or, a victim of a crime, they can't testify in their own case because they're not impartial. So they could still present their evidence or what evidence they have to a detective. Then that detective would then hand it to the attorney. They would then build a case. Guess what? They've got a bunch of people who research every case. They're an amazing organization.
Hey, man, listen, all I'm saying is this is more.
No, what are you saying? You're saying that.
All I'm saying is you're a mark. And this is more evidence that you're a mark because, bro.
I'm a mark. So you're trying to invalidate an organization because they listen to people who have been canceled, and they shouldn't do that, even though you don't know what their criteria is.
When did I say that? When did I fucking
literally
say that?
You've tried to bring that up like 5 times. Like, yeah, well, it's a group of people who have been canceled.
Okay, so then clearly you're
Ed,
either.
Did you try to bring up the fact that this is now a group of people that are canceled? Of course, they're not impartial to it. Did you not then? Yeah, that's really stupid. So this is a group of lawyers mainly and free speech activists who collect these stories, okay? It's not a bunch of people who have been canceled. They actually look into the case. A lot of the times, they represent them. They fight them.
Dude, I don't care.
Company,
I really don't care.
the school that fired them. They try to get justice.
Listen,
okay?
I'm here to. Okay, bro. Listen, I'm not here to fucking dictate the.
No, but you're making really weird, spurious claims, trying to invalidate this organization that you know nothing about. Would I try to tell you what exactly happened? And what is going on with this organization? You try to pivot away like, hey, I didn't say that. Yeah, you fucking did, man. You tried to invalidate this. So again, these are people who have been canceled. There's a lot of people that have been canceled. It is disingenuous to say that cancel culture doesn't exist.
We already agreed to that.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm saying is maybe, okay, bro. Look, I really don't know if this is like, if we're just going to go back and forth on this, dog. But
Okay.
if
Hey, you
you,
mentioned something about race. Did you want to talk
yeah, we'll
about
get
that
to that.
then?
But what I'm saying is this, bro. If you want to trust biased people, that's
So
fine.
how is the organization biased
It
other
was it was
than
it was
they?
it was founded by people who consider themselves part a victim of cancel culture, right?
No, you made that up. I tried to correct you. No, that's not who founded this organization. I've told you that like 5 times.
All right, bro.
You
Look,
have
honestly,
spuriously made that claim, and you tried to invalidate them because of that. I then corrected you. No, that is not
okay.
who
All right,
has
fine.
done this. This isn't
Okay.
like this
Dude,
isn't
this is such
like
a boring
some
conversation.
sort of like class action suit.
It's not, so it's weird. Yeah, okay, it's not 100%. Okay, so you want to
Okay.
talk about race?
You mentioned it.
Yeah, 100%.
We were supposed to talk
100%.
about free speech and comedy, but yeah, let's talk about race, man.
Yeah, cool. Let's just end it here, dog. Yeah, let's talk about race, bro, because you said something that I hear a lot of people say, which is very interesting. Because you said that racism is evil, all right?
I did
And
not. I don't believe in evil.
so you don't believe in evil.
No.
Okay, so what is racism?
Well, it appears to be when people, they treat people who are different than them differently. They tend to group them based off of some sort of group thing. You were talking about racism, so generally it's that. And then they generally treat them differently. It doesn't necessarily need the superiority, but yeah, it's basically like tribalism, but very much race-based. That's what it seems to be to me.
Sure.
But I don't know that it's necessarily evil. Like,
Okay.
you can kind of look at evolutionary psychology and you can understand why people are tribalistic and why that might be one group that people tend towards.
Sure.
I think it's wrong, but I don't know. I don't necessarily go with the whole good and evil thing.
Right. Well, I mean, I bring it up for a very specific reason, dude, because you were doing the whole pedantic dance with Bob yesterday about like this sort of issue and shit. And to me, right, like the framing of race as being this evil thing, I don't know, bro. Like
What do you
it
mean
just
race is evil? I literally just told you I don't believe
right.
in
That's
evil.
what I was getting to, bro. So like, yeah, if that's not what you believe, and you believe that, I mean, cool. Like, do you have any examples of something that you would consider racist?
Well, yeah. I mean, like if somebody calls somebody,
Something that you've seen specific to your life.
I mean, yeah, like if I see a dude call someone the N-word, if I see somebody literally treat somebody differently because of the color of their skin, any of that I would consider racism.
Right.
Why? What would you consider
Honestly,
racism, Ed?
From what racism, honestly, not anything different than you, dude. From what I remember specifically, like maybe I could have been wrong, could have mixed you up with another debate, but
If they were bringing up evil, that totally is, because trust me, man, that word is not really in my vocabulary.
racism or evil.
No, evil.
Okay. Hey, honestly, bro,
I believe racism exists. I don't believe necessarily that there is this thing that's evil.
Okay. Like honestly,
I
bro,
mean, there's definitely wrong and like serious bad shit that people do.
Sure.
Like, I'm not saying murder is correct or anything like that, but yeah, man, I don't know.
No, hey, honestly, bro, that might have been on me. I might have just got you mixed up with someone else. All right, never mind. That's it for me, dude. Honestly, I mean, unless there's anything else you want to iterate on or.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did have a couple of questions for
Sure.
you. So, what is this whole like? I don't know. So, what was your contention with me? Like,
Look,
literally. So,
yeah.
Hold on. Can I get a little bit more specific with it? And then I'd love to hear you out. So, it sounded. So, my conversation with Bob, I was trying to understand his standard because it seems like if you're just going to go off this pattern thing, you could literally label anything a pattern. And the way that Dane was doing it, he literally has a quote that says, well, you see, any individual incident can be explained away. So what you need to do is you need to take a look at the bigger picture, the vibe. That seems really horrible to me. That seems like it's a way to condemn anybody.
No, he's actually totally right. No, he's actually totally right about that.
Okay,
look,
can you tell me the benefit from using that as opposed to using actual evidence?
Yeah, 100%, bro. I mean, because look, I'll tell you right now, this kind of conversation where like we try to try to make sense of what is and isn't racist. Like, I've never had that conversation, with another person of color, like ever, and I think that's something that is exclusive within white people, because I think for white people, it's a real
Is it intrinsic to white people?
No, well, I mean, intrinsic.
That seems a little racist, man.
No.
Like, it's, I don't know.
Well, what was I saying? What did you think I was going to say?
Well, it seems like you're saying that there's this quality that only white people have. That seems a little fucked up, man.
Wait, what? So I can't point out like a pattern that I've seen from white people in my life that you're doing right now?
I never said you couldn't point out a pattern. I said that seems a little fucked up to say,
Okay, well,
hey, all these people of this skin color have this trait.
Okay, all right, bro. Yeah, and you see, this is what I love. This is exactly the kind of shit that I love, because like it kind of goes to show my overall point that I'll work up to here, buddy. But let's just kind of start slow here a little bit.
Okay.
Like, the thing is, I can't fucking iterate if someone is racist. I can't sit there and ask myself, is this racist? Is that racist? Like, I can't. Because I am a Mexican, because there is racism that affects me both on a personal and institutional level. I need to be able to, like, the way I describe it is that, like, racism has a stench. It has a vibe. Dane is totally right. Racism and racist people, yes, they have a certain attitude about them. They have a certain way they talk. They have a certain way they carry themselves, bro. Believe it or not, I know this is going to blow a lot of white people away, but racist people often don't come up to you and tell you they're racist. That basically never fucking happens. The racism it's in their attitude.
You can tell from their actions.
Exactly, bro. By their vibes.
No, a vibe is not an action. A vibe is a feeling, man. If you're going off of feelings,
yes,
well, hey, can you tell me what the difference is when you are correct or when you're incorrect, but you don't know it? What is the difference in that feeling? Could you not have that same exact feeling? That's why feelings don't.
But you see, this is what I mean. You can do that. You can do that because you're white. You can fucking ask yourself that question.
So wait, I can do something because I'm white.
Let me finish. Let me stop.
So this is a privilege thing that you're going to say? All right.
What I'm saying is, you're white. You can stop and ask yourself that. You can stop and ask yourself that, because even the most fucking harsh, racist person towards you could only fucking hurt you as an individual. Right? Let's. I mean,
I've been
right. Look, do you remember the Karen thing?
Which one?
When a bunch of you know where the word Karen came from, right? The meme, all that.
Yeah, but you said you remember the Karen thing. So which one are you talking about?
Well, generally speaking, what was the Karen thing about?
Why don't you tell me? You're trying to lead me down some path. I'm not quite sure which incident you're talking about. There have been a bunch of.
I mean, you're right.
There's been a bunch of incidents like the barbecue Becky one. I don't know what the original one was. I believe it was after the barbecue Becky thing where people started saying Karen all the time. But I don't remember.
It just wasn't barbecue Becky, was it? It was
no. But I remember, like, I don't think that Karen was as common until after that. So
right, but
do you remember the exact one?
Everybody called it.
Are you asking for like an exact one, or do you mean like the movie?
No, I literally asked you, generally speaking, what was the Karen term about? How did it come about to be? How did it become a force?
But you didn't ask me that. You said, do you remember what happened? You basically asked me about an incident. So if you're just talking about like, what does that term mean?
Okay, look, bro, I'll just answer for you, because I can tell you're a little freaked out because you don't know where I'm going and how this might paint you. So I'm just gonna go ahead.
No, you're just
really easy for you, bro.
You're talking really vain.
It is not. I asked you a question, dog. You're the one who could talk.
No, it's very vague,
it's
man.
Not that hard. It's not that hard, dog. The Karen situation, the whole meme happened because a bunch of white people were calling the cops on black people for, pool parties, stuff like that.
When you say a bunch, how many? So, like, is it a mob of white people that were doing this?
Okay, we're not going to have that conversation because that's not even what I'm talking about. What I'm telling you is, you do remember a series of videos where a bunch of white women were calling the cops on black people, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that was where the Karen thing came from. Yes, that's where the Karen thing came from, right? So the fact that you know where the Karen thing came from and how it comes from means that you do understand that ultimately, racism towards black people and racism towards white people are very different things. Because if a black person were to call you and try to pull a Karen on you, what's gonna happen to you? A cop is gonna come up to you and like tell you, "Well, this shit's fucking whack," right? But with a black person, it's a 50-50 chance that cop is gonna go up and shoot that black person.
It's a 50-50 chance that any black person has an interaction with a cop, they're going to be shot. That is fucking stupid, Ed. Like, I have literally never heard anything so dumb as that. How many black people do you think were shot by cops last year? How many incidents do you think people had with cops last year? No, that was really dumb. You actually got specific, and it was the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Okay, but if you want to have that conversation, we'll have that conversation. But ultimately, can we both agree that in a situation where someone pulls a Karen on a white person compared to someone pulls a Karen on a black person, that the black person is more likely?
So Karen has a connotation.
Right? You guys see this fucking pedantic bullshit. We both just agreed where the Karen thing came from, and yet he still wants to reiterate.
Now you're saying that you're pulling a Karen on somebody. So I'm asking what that means to get more specific so that we're on the same page. It means exactly
what it meant 5 minutes ago, dude. It meant exactly what it meant 5 minutes ago. And if you can't keep up, dude, maybe go talk to a therapist and clear that little head of yours, dog, because I'm not fucking speaking unclearly here. I meant it exactly the same way I meant it the last time we talked about it, okay?
Okay, so I've never heard somebody say they're pulling a Karen on somebody. So does that mean that, like, you know, a white guy is selling lemonade and some black person, like, called the cops on them? Is that pulling a Karen on them? I need to know what you mean by it.
Right, so
that's why I'm asking for clarification. But apparently to you, anything other than, you know, generalization is pedantic. So, okay, they're committing a Karen.
I love that you're trying, Mark. I love how hard you're trying.
Keep laying down the trap, buddy. Keep going.
There is no trap to lay down, but the fact that you think there is interesting, right? Because I really do just want to have an honest conversation with you here. But
I'm trying to as well.
You're being so defensive by being pedantic that you're not letting it happen. To me, it seems like you're afraid to actually have this.
You're being very insulting and condescending.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But okay, let's put it this way: the reason why I bring up the black people getting
enjoy my tiny cup
is not to fucking. If you want to have that conversation, we can have that conversation, bro. But the main reason why I bring it up is because, statistically speaking, black people are more likely to get shot in a police interaction than white people. That's why Karens called the cops, dog, because they know that if they called the cops, then they're going to have institutional power behind them. That's the entire reason they called them. If we can both agree that
calling the cops should be because there is actually an incident that requires some sort of emergency intervention.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so by definition, when you're saying like somebody's committing a Karen on somebody, it seems to have the connotation that there isn't an emergency situation. So it seems to be fucked up.
Is it is a black family having a birthday party a criminal situation?
So no, like I just said, that seems to have the connotation to it.
Is a black kid at a pool? Is that a criminal situation?
Do you think that between those two, since you've noticed two of them, do you think that one of those two got shot by the cops? Because you said it's a 50-50 shot, whether a black person gets shot by the cops.
No, but
it seems to be less than 50-50 now, right?
Do you believe those are the only two black people who got shot, or do you just not know how statistics work?
So now they got shot.
When I say 50%,
Ed, you just switched from saying they didn't get shot to now they're the only two that did get shot.
Hold on, wait, I didn't know, bro. This is bad. This is bad for you, dude.
I agree.
If you genuinely think that only two black people,
no, Ed, I literally just said the words that you said back to you.
You literally yourself said, "Well, these two black people didn't get shot, so how could you say it's 50%?"
Ed, I was mocking you with what you just said.
You do understand that when people talk statistics like that, they're not talking. They're talking about.
No, I understand that when people talk statistics like that, they're talking out of their ass. When you say that 50%, it's a 50-50 shot whether you're going to die or not.
No, bro. You see, you're trying so hard to like fucking save your face here, dude. But honestly, what you just did was fucking retarded, and it goes to show like your mentality, dude.
That's an ableist slur, Ed. Yeah, I know you like the slurs, man, but come on, let's stay away from this.
But bro, like, listen, like the fact that you even have to contort this shit, bro, to pretend to have a point is hilarious. But look, all I'm saying is the fact that we both agree on the whole Kate thing means we both understand the power of institutional racism. Now.
Can you actually define what the power of institutional racism is? So I don't agree with you. You're saying we both agree. You put no evidence out.
Let me finish what I'm going to say. And then if you want clarification, I'll be happy to provide it. Okay? Let me finish talking. Now, the fact that we both understand the Karen meme, where it came from, means that we both understand how institutional racism and personal racism works, right? The reason why race as a topic is different between white people and black people is because you, as a white guy, if you were to meet the biggest fucking racist against white people, that person could harm you potentially, and that sucks, and that's not cool, right? But if any other person of color, but mainly black people, if that were to be them in that situation, not only is that person a threat to them, but any institutional power that they call upon is going to be brought in too. So that's why, dude, that's why the discussion of race is different for me and you, and that's why you can fucking iterate and ask yourself, is this racist or is that racist, and why I can't. There is
you can't ask that. You've got to just assume it because you have.
Well, what do you? Whoa, hold on.
No.
How do you think I act in those situations? I'm curious.
Well, what situations?
In situations
when someone calls the cops on you when you're in a pool, like I think you'd be outraged in that situation.
In a situation where I think I'm amongst a bunch of racist people, how do you think I act, dude?
I'm guessing it's not pleasant, and you're probably like looking over your shoulder. How do you think I would act when I'm standing around a bunch of racists? Do you think that I'm like just comfortable and it's like just the water in which we swim?
What I'm saying
no,
is
man.
right.
Like I would still have head on a swivel. I wouldn't trust somebody who hates people because of the color of their skin.
Right, exactly, dude. But like, look, all I'm saying is that this whole iteration of what's racist and what's not is something that only you can do because there is no institutional threat. The worst thing that could happen to you is another racist person. Worst thing that could happen to a black person is a racist person then calling the cops. You see what I mean? So
no, I don't, because you're not actually putting any sort of evidence there. I let you go on for quite a while. So you seem to keep stating that somehow they're going to die if the cops are called on them, and I couldn't get the cops called on me. I've had plenty of really shitty, unfair interactions with cops, man. I don't have that one category where I could say, hey, it's because of my race. I think it's because a lot of cops are assholes. They have to deal with some really tough situations. And, I don't think everyone's cut out for that. I don't know that every incident where somebody claims that has to be racist when it could just be somebody having a bad day. I don't know that I can follow you there. Now, I do believe.
Okay, go ahead.
I do believe there are racist people out there, but you would be mind reading to say, hey, this just happened because of the color of my skin, when you don't necessarily know that.
And you can do that. You can do that, bro, because the chances of racism
you could do that too.
No,
instead of just assuming that it's because of the color of your skin.
Hey, bro, I don't fucking go around thinking everything that is done to me is done by the color of my skin, but there have definitely been
times to be what you implied, that I somehow have a different option where, I might get physically harmed, but no cops would be called on me.
All I'm saying, the only reason why I just want to take a pause here, and I want to talk to the audience for a minute here. Now, I'm glad that Gray is doing this, right? Because I think this is a very interesting phenomenon amongst people who present themselves to be centrists and stuff like that. And then that's to divorce this conversation from any social context, from any historical context, or from any real world context. Listen,
you're not putting any historical context to it either.
I live in the same planet you do, dude. I live in the same fucking country. All right.
Yes. Somehow you living in the same country means that you've provided some sort of evidence.
What I'm saying is, just because you're trying to speak about these issues as if they were in a vacuum, devoid of any history, devoid of any social context, bro.
So, no, what you're trying to do is standpoint epistemology, that because I am not the same color as you, I haven't walked in your shoes, I couldn't possibly understand, or I shouldn't be in this conversation.
I never said that. I never said that, bro. I never said that.
Okay, well, you kept talking about white people do this. Right. This is what... You mentioned that it's only white people that have this conversation.
Yes, it is only white people that have this conversation because you're the only people that can afford to. Look, what I'm getting at is here, bro. I think, well, let's put it this way. I don't think you're a racist, Ray. You don't have
this. That's very big of you.
You don't have this thing. Okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute. You don't have the stench on you, dude. You don't have that vibe. I have no reason to think that you are a racist. Okay.
Cool.
But do you think that, does that mean that doesn't necessarily mean that you have not done racist things? Am I right?
I don't know what you mean by racist things.
What I'm saying is, right, for all I know, you can
So because you don't know, you're going to say that I've done racist things?
No, what I'm saying is this. When people try to simplify race, right? Or issues
try to simplify.
Race,
what do you mean by simplify race?
simplify race, or I'm sorry, try to talk about these issues, these race and these racial issues, with, like in a vacuum without any context.
What do you mean
It
by
seems
in a
to me
vacuum without context? I'm trying to provide it, but
ignoring
every
recent
single time you
history.
keep
Bro,
trying to go back to like the general.
Listen, if you were not in the United States, I would understand why you would need the evidence that this is happening, but we both live in the same country, dude. And I'm sorry that you think being pedantic is like a great move, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not paying attention to how the world works, because I actually have a point to make, unlike you, dude. And it's very simple here, dude, is that like what you're doing is even a symptom of it, right? What you're doing is even a symptom of it, because essentially when people frame things and like I am or am not a racist, it shuts off.
How have I ever framed that?
Let me get there. It shuts off that part of their brain that's critical. They say, I'm not a racist. Therefore, nothing I do or say can be racist, can be considered racist, or anything like that. You know? And I think, and to me, that's a stupid way of viewing it for anybody, right? Because
I
because
agree. That seems like a straw man position that nobody actually has.
Right, exactly.
Of course, anybody could have a racist action.
Right, exactly. So I think it's more important to have the conversation where it's like, is a person racist, a person not? Hey, I'll tell you right now, for my entire life, it's been very rare that I've met like a hateful racist person twice in my life. I can tell you that I've met a truly awful racist person, but I don't know a single fucking person who hasn't done or said a fucking racist fucking thing. You know what I mean? And like, to me, like, I think that's the better conversation to be had when it comes to the topic of race. It's not so much about our personalities. It's about our biases, our actions, and our attitudes. You see what I mean? And I think a part of that, bro, is definitely being honest about the conversation.
So that's implying that I'm not being honest. I mean, you're over here. It's really shitty. How am I not being honest,
bro? Because you live in the same country as me. You've seen all Breonna Taylor, all these fucking black people who have been killed by cops for almost always not doing anything wrong. And I mean, listen.
Okay, so you're saying all these people again. So you mentioned one case, Breonna Taylor, which everybody says that was a really messed up situation. Okay,
is that another one?
That one isn't that one isn't as messed up. We need to actually go into the details on it. Isn't it Sandra Bland, not Sarah Bland?
One of those two, yeah. But I think it's interesting that you think
so. There is actually context where that's not the same thing.
That's interesting. Okay. What is she? I'm sorry. Let's.
So, are you familiar with that situation? Can you describe what happened to Sandra Bland?
Let's just make sure we're talking about the same person. Okay. I'm talking about the woman who was in the car with her boyfriend, who had a gun, and who told the cop he had a gun. The cop told him to get the gun out, and as he was reaching for the gun, the cop killed Sarah Bland and him.
So that's not Sandra Bland at all.
Okay, what was her again?
She was the one who was found hanged in a jail cell. It's completely different.
Oh,
that's not a bad shoot. That's why I was saying, hold on, are we talking about the same person? But I feel like you just got really condescending on me there when I was literally trying to figure out, hey, is this the same case? Because I don't think that's what you're talking about.
That was shitting on me. I apologize. Okay. All right, man. So, anything else you want to go over? You said you had a couple more questions for me.
Really, it was about like a bunch of the free speech stuff and kind of your comments that you made on that last video. But I don't know, man. At this point, I think you're just going to call it pedantic to try and find out, like, hey, what did you mean by this? But
well, I mean, listen, bro, I'm happy to answer that question, but there comes a point where you're just talking about semantics and pedantry, dude. Like, what I would really recommend for you, dude, is like,
oh yeah, listen, no, I would love to get some life lessons from
you.
Dude, what would you recommend? How do I be more like Ed?
Well, okay, I don't want.
Let's do this.
Okay, first of all, I don't think anybody. I'm not saying anybody should be like me. First of all, second of all, dude, like, I really would not want you to be part of the problem, bro. Like, to me, life is a party, man. Life is a party. All right. And everybody has like a standing invitation for it. Right. But over time, if you don't change with the party, you're eventually going to get kicked out. And I don't want that for you, bro. So, like, all I'm going to say is that, like, if you're talking about these issues, right, like, you could either be really productive about it and actually you know, do something with it. Like I really feel like we didn't really accomplish much here, dude, because like
Yeah,
a
I
lot
don't
of
feel
people
like we did
are
either.
dealing with your semantics and frankly, dude, like if that's the only move you got, bro, like I don't know, maybe learn some maybe learn some actual like techniques, maybe like have some critical thinking or something about that. Because
So I
like
wasn't critically thinking because I'm trying to actually understand the details and
well,
get into the nitty gritty of it.
I'm
But
glad you
instead of
initially
that, you
saw
want to
critical
go,
thinking.
you want to zoom out. You don't want to look at the trees. You want to instead look at the forest and just trust feelings.
Well, because
Yeah, that
you
doesn't
wanted
sound like a good way to go through life, Ed.
bro, no, listen. It seems to me like you wanted to make sure that we stayed in the trees because you were going to lose the conversation about the forest, bro. Let's be real here.
I don't view this as like a battle, man. Like
It sure
it's
didn't
not
feel
that there's
it sure
I
did not
tried
come
to
off
be
that way, dog.
very charitable with you. I tried to find out what you were actually saying so that we're on the same page. You
I
called that
tried,
pedantic.
yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah. Hey, man, I'm sorry. Like, I really hope that someday you just learn to like just have a regular conversation, and not just you, bro, but like I really hope anybody who finds what Gray did here something.
What do you mean what I did here? So like
Well,
I
this
tried to contact you.
pedantic
You came into my
argumentation. That's
comments,
what you had,
man,
bro.
and you were really
Yeah.
trashing comedy and you were saying that like, hey, telling edgy jokes isn't free speech. So
Well,
I said, hey, I really think you have a bad point here. Comedy is very subjective,
which is
and
funny. It
just
shows how
because you think
pedantic
that
you are.
something's out of
And it's
touch
funny.
doesn't mean it is.
And it shows how pedantic you are because like you focus so much on like me saying that like edgy jokes aren't free speech that you ignored the entire part of it where the exact point I was making that offensive humor is not the entirety of free speech. So let's fucking zoom
I
out
never
beyond
said that it
that.
was the entirety of free speech
That
either.
I did say
Nobody said
like
that.
all this came from those exact words show how pedantic you are, dog. Hey man, being pedantic is not fun. Nobody likes
All right.
pedantic people, bro. And like
Okay.
seriously, dude, like I just hope he gets the perspective. I hope he gets some
Well,
real
maybe
perspective.
one day I'll be like you, Ed.
Free speech.
Maybe, people will start liking me. I'll just start talking in generalities and, maybe everything will just be better.
That worked
Hey,
out a
I
lot
do
better
have a
for you than
couple of
being
questions
pedantic,
for
bro.
you, man. So
Okay,
you
go for it.
mentioned that you're on the outs with, or you're not a part of the fandom initiative.
Yeah.
Uh, is did something happen, or is it?
Not really, man. Ultimately, it just kind of came to a place where I wanted to operate in a way that didn't line up with how they wanted to operate. So we just kind of split. That was about it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get you to go into anything you don't want to or anything, but
There's
could I
really
ask?
nothing. There's really nothing else to go into. I mean, like,
No.
like we were talking about the show and certain stuff like that, and I was telling them some of my plans, and it was just like, that's going to get in the way of this. I said, you know what, that's fine. I don't want to step on your toes. Yeah, thanks for everything. I'll get some other time. You know what I mean?
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Can I ask you about one thing?
Sure.
So it seems like you kind of agree with their pattern of behavior tool that they're using.
I think everybody does. Yeah.
So I don't think that everybody necessarily does, but
I don't think you know
fair
as many
enough.
people as I do.
Okay. That's really childish, but okay. So you know more people, so apparently you're correct that people don't disagree with that. Cool. So anyway, what I was asking you about is that database that they are using to like keep tabs on people that you could randomly report people to. What's your feelings on that? Do you think that that's a good
Database?
tool to have? Yeah, like you can go through actual fandom site and like report incidents of, I don't know, basically like anti-fandom or chud-like behavior.
I mean, even if I mean, first of all, I never heard of that, but I mean, even if that's a thing, so what?
No, I was just wondering if you had an opinion on it.
No, not really, man.
All right, fair enough. Well, you mentioned that there were a couple other things. You mentioned there was the race thing, and then you said that there was something else. Was there
No, that's
anything
pretty
else you
much it
wanted
for
to
me,
talk
man.
about?
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, man, if you do want to have a discussion at some point in the future, I would totally be down. I do actually have a question for you.
Go for it.
So I noticed in your name it was pretty good at guitar. Out of curiosity, what kind of guitar do you play?
My main one is a Gretsch Streamliner, but I got a Tele Parchcaster, Jaguar, got a bass as well.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. What about you?
Really big fan. Kind of everything. I've got a couple of fenders, then a lot of them that I just built myself.
All right, all right.
Basically did everything but the neck, so
Good
it was
shit.
really fun. Out of curiosity, what kind of music do you play?
I play mainly. Oh God, I don't know, man. My music's fucking weird. It's like a weird mix of like
Cool.
punk and synth pop. Like it's bizarre. Eddie Los Guardos. I'm on all the platforms if anybody wants to check it out.
Cool. I think I would actually like to check it out, man.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
All right.
All right, man. Well, I think this seems like a good place to end it. It feels like we're not totally at each other.
Okay.
I feel like, you know, if there is something that we disagree about in the future, it would be cool to have a little bit more structured of a conversation.
I would be happy to have this again, bro. But like, I'll tell you, dude, this pedantic stuff, like, I'm not. I'll give you this one. I'll give you this one, dude. But if the next one is just gonna be more of this, like, you know.
So, Patrick keeps asking, can you define pedantic?
Yeah, dude, pedantic is when somebody essentially is being purposefully obtuse to refocus the conversation away from the main point in order to like discuss the semantics of a situation.
Huh. Okay.
You know
We
that
have a
you know
different definition of pedantic.
you know that actually that meme
Yeah.
that's pedantic.
That doesn't seem like it implies that you're refocusing the conversation.
It is because it's distracting from the overall point. That's when somebody's being pedantic. When what they're trying to do is just be semantic to the point that it's distracting from the overall conversation. Myopic, pedantic, forest for the trees. You know, it's all the same thing.
So it really isn't. It would be somebody who's more like focused on accuracy.
To the point that it's obtuse. Yes.
Precision.
To the point that it's obtuse.
It doesn't have that extra part in there, but fair enough. I think we just define it differently, but I did not know that you were
if
actually...
somebody's being like, yeah, there's being factual and there's being pedantic, dude. Like you're factual to a point where it starts to really get lost within syntax and semantics and all that shit, where it just loses track of the greater point. That's what being pedantic means.
All right. I will totally agree that that's what you're defining it as. I haven't heard it used in that way, but okay, all right, we'll agree to disagree.
I didn't know it could be used in any other way, bro. But all right, man. Till next time.
All right, man.
Peace out.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. This obviously wasn't the greatest conversation. Totally didn't go the way that I wanted it to. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess when you can't get into any specifics, it makes it a little different. I guess, yeah, there definitely is a theme. I guess pedantic is the one. You got it, Patrick. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I think we're just going to end the stream there. Thanks, everyone.